A parent-teacher conference to remember. Have a great evening, everyone, Leo said with a broad smile, watching the last of the parents file out of the classroom. The parents were bewildered. The students were ecstatic. An abrupt, unscheduled break like this was like going to your favorite burger joint, finishing your meal, and finding a voucher at the bottom of the bag for a free combo next time. Plus an extra Coke, just because. That was the general mood. Phew. Now that was a satisfying parent-teacher conference, Leo sighed, wiping non-existent sweat from his brow. He shut the classroom door and jogged back toward his office. Inside, Dylan Miller was still chewing out his sister, Willis Shaw, for stealing $500 from him. He looked up as Leo came in. Back so soon? Forget something? Nope. Conference is over, Leo said. Dylan stared. Willis stared. Are you sure you were holding a parent-teacher conference? Dylan couldn't help but ask. Obviously. What else would I be doing, running a nightclub? Leo shot back. Ignoring Dylan, Leo walked over and opened the safe. Good thing he was quick, otherwise the Croft siblings would have suffocated in there. Hey Dylan, grab a couple of duffel bags, Leo said without turning around. Where the hell am I supposed to get duffel bags? Dylan snapped. Then what's the plan? Leo stood up, a conflicted look on his face. We can't just haul these two out of here in broad daylight, can we? Dylan let out a long, weary sigh. He knew he couldn't count on Leo for the practical stuff. You and my sister wait here. I'll go get the car. Those words struck a nerve deep inside Leo. You have a car? It's my uncle's. No, I mean, you know how to drive? Duh. What college student doesn't know how to drive these days? A glimmer of understanding dawned in Dylan's eyes. He arched an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. Leo, don't tell me you don't have a license. I have one. Let me see it. I didn't bring it with me. It's on your phone. Forgot my phone. It's okay if you don't have one. No need to be embarrassed. We're buddies. We won't laugh at you. Leo fell silent. Dylan's grin widened. It wasn't every day he got to see Leo squirm. Willis stood off to the side, silently observing the two of them. So childish, she thought. All right, I'm getting the car. Wait for the coast to be clear, then bring them down, Dylan said, pulling out a set of keys and dangling them triumphantly in front of Leo before sauntering off. Leo took a deep breath and shot a middle finger at Dylan's retreating back. What are you so proud of? So you have a license. Big deal. I might not have a license, but I have the money to buy a car. I can take my time getting a license. Can you take your time buying a car? The thought soothed him, restoring his inner equilibrium. Watching the exchange, Willow once again thought, childish. Soon, Dylan pulled the car up to the building's entrance. Leo and Willow worked together, waiting for a moment when no one was looking before dragging the unconscious Croft siblings into the car. From a distance, Dylan watched them work. A strange thought crossed his mind. The way they moved, the seamless coordination as they did something so illicit. It was uncanny. It was almost as if they were the siblings. Nope, I have to keep Leo away from my sister. Can't let it be a bad influence. Slam, Leo shut the trunk, dusted his hands, and declared, All right, we're good to go. With that, he slid casually into the back seat. Dylan, sitting in the driver's seat, just stared at him. What are you looking at me for? Drive, Leo said. Not moving. You get in the front, and then I'll drive, Dylan said flatly. Like how you're treating me, like your personal chauffeur. Leo's mouth twitched. He flipped Dylan off again, then got out and slammed the passenger door shut. Willa, meanwhile, had settled comfortably in the back, her hands in her pockets, watching the whole scene unfold. Seriously, so childish, she thought for the third time. Leo pulled up the directions on his phone, and Dylan hit the gas, heading for the BSO headquarters. By the way, where's Chloe? Leo asked suddenly. Dylan kept his eyes on the road. She's back home, in Ethelberg. I told her what was happening before I left. I'll head back to see her over the holidays. TCH, so you're spending the holidays at her place? Leo asked, intrigued. What, is that a problem? Dylan shot him a glare. My entire family is just my uncle and my sister. Just the three of us. Might as well go to Chloe's place, meet her parents. Leo nodded. It sounded a lot like his own situation. The only difference was that Dylan still had an uncle and a sister. When the holidays came, Leo would be all alone. He had no idea where his own parents were jet-setting these days. Right. I need you to do me a favor, Dylan said suddenly. You have to ask me nicely, Leo said, striking a haughty pose. I'll call the Crofts right now, and we can all go down together. You want to try me? Geez, just a joke. Why are you so wound up? Leo quickly placated him. What's the favor? Dylan shot him another irritated look before continuing. The main cartel got my uncle thrown in jail. I need your help getting him out. What? Leo frowned. The main cartel? Why would they lock up your uncle? To humiliate us, Willa's quiet voice came from the back seat, to show us that in their eyes were nothing but ants they can crush whenever they feel like it. Dylan sighed, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. She's right. A long time ago, back when our family was still in Viridian, my parents had a feud with Jasper Kane. Later, there was an incident. Jasper Kane killed them. When a main cartel found out we were back in town, Jasper himself didn't do anything. In his mind, we're not a threat. But his adopted son, Quentin Kane, wouldn't let it go. The mention of a name made Dylan's expression darken. Quentin came to us, said some vile things. My sister told him off, and he had my uncle arrested. He didn't lay a hand on him. He just had the cops lock him up. Said he let my uncle go when my sister and I got on our knees and begged for his forgiveness. In the back, Willa bowed her head, the brim of her baseball cap casting her entire face in shadow. Leo glanced at her in the rearview mirror. He was starting to understand why this quiet girl had murder in her eyes. Because right now, he was feeling a little murderous himself. A lawless land. They'd arrested Arthur Wallace, done nothing to him, and were just holding him at the police station. That kid, Quentin Kane, was without a doubt trying to humiliate Dylan and Willa. I won't do a thing. Your uncle will just sit in a cell. If you have the power, come and get him. But you don't have connections, you don't have influence, so how can you? You can't. Your only option is to come crawling to me. Quentin's actions were like a boy toying with ants, just a bit of amusement to spice up his day. The main cartel is that powerful? They can control the police department. Leo had to ask. Leo, this is Viridian, not Ethelberg. Dylan said quietly. If I had to describe it, this place is a city outside the law. You won't find any justice here, or fairness. Leo's brow furrowed. A lawless land? Viridian was in worse shape than he'd imagined. I get it. Your uncle. We'll go get him out tonight. Leo said, a jail cell is no place to spend your time. TCH, you say that like you've been inside. I visited once back in high school. At that, even Willa looked up at Leo. He had a wistful, the follies of youth expression on his face. I was young and reckless, didn't know any better. Some guy had a problem with me, wanted to fight. And I agreed. Except I set the meeting place for the plaza in front of City Hall. Leo looked thoroughly annoyed just thinking about it. I never thought the idiots would actually show up with a crew. The second people saw them, they called the cops. So I got taken in, had to write pages and pages of self-criticism essays. TCH, but you know who was really panicking? My principal. Leo added with a sudden grin. I heard he got called in for a meeting with the superintendent afterward. Probably had to write his own damn essay. Dylan's mouth twitched. That principal was truly blessed to have a student like Leo. A short while later, the three of them arrived at the BSO's base of operations. So this is your headquarters. It's big, Dylan said, getting out of the car and eyeing the somewhat dilapidated building. Hey, watch your mouth. Leo retorted, offended. It's not the size that counts, it's what's on the inside. He opened a trunk and dragged out Corbin and Raina Croft. Pulling out his keys, he unlocked the front door. Ava, honey, I'm home, he yelled. Inside, Ava and the others paused. It wasn't time for school to be out. Why was he back already? A moment later, their expressions froze. Leo hadn't come back alone. Hi. Dylan offered a weak wave to Ava. Long time no see. Ava stared, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. What was Dylan doing here? But that wasn't the main issue, because something far more headache-inducing was unfolding. Leo was slowly dragging two unconscious people into the building. My cover was almost blown today, he announced. Good thing I thought fast and knocked these two out. A terrible premonition washed over Ava and the others. They rushed forward. Kane and Alex stared at the unconscious Croft siblings, their faces twitching uncontrollably. Leo, don't tell me those are the Crofts. Alex stammered. Of course they are. Who else would they be? Leo said, slightly annoyed. Didn't you do the background check on them? How could you not recognize them? I'm trying not to recognize them. You lunatic. Why do you keep kidnapping people and bringing them back here? My head's spinning. I need to sit down. Alex clutched his forehead and stumbled toward the sofa. He was done. He couldn't deal with this anymore. Let Leo run wild. Every day brought a new, horrifying surprise. At this rate, in a few more days, he'd probably drag the ghost back here, tied up in a sack. Ava clutched her head in agony and squatted on the floor. She wanted to go back to Ethelberg. She never should have taken this stupid commander position. What's done is done. Let's get them inside. Kane sighed, stepping forward to help Leo carry the bodies. He was the only one who seemed capable of keeping a level head. Willa stood back, watching the scene with a curious glint in her eyes. Half an hour later, Leo had recounted the day's events at the school. By the time he was finished, everyone, including Ava, was numb. They had, after all, gone through this just yesterday. Silence fell over the room. So, what do we do with these two? Marco pointed to the Crofts. Should we put them with the stalker? The stalker he was referring to was Silas. Ava pinched the bridge of her nose, a massive headache building. Put them together for now. It's not like we can let them go at this point. Kane nodded, got up, and found some rope, tying Corbin and Raina up securely. He opened the storage room door. Silas was lying inside, still as a corpse, not struggling at all. He truly hadn't had anything to eat or drink for a full day. More importantly, he really had to go to the bathroom. Hearing the noise, Silas slowly opened his eyes. A sliver of blinding light cut through the darkness. MMPH. MMPH. I have to pee. Silas whimpered weakly. Kane and Alex dragged the Croft siblings into the room. Silas barely glanced at them before looking away. No point in being surprised. These thugs kidnapped people on a regular basis. It was practically normal. All he wanted was to use the bathroom. Alex looked at Silas, figured he'd had enough, and ripped the tape off his mouth. I have to use the bathroom. Silas said, his voice barely a whisper. Let me use the bathroom, and I'll tell you anything. Outside the room, Dylan watched, his expression twitching. You guys are the BSO. You're a legitimate organization, right? Of course, Leo replied with a perfectly straight face. You won't find anyone more legitimate than us. Kane took Silas to the bathroom. A few minutes later, he returned, looking refreshed and revitalized. Oh, Silas let out a long, contented sigh. He felt alive again. All right, now, tell us what you know. Alex said, sitting on the sofa. Silas glanced at him and said coolly, I want to eat. Alex frowned and reached for the roll of tape. Wait. Silas saw this and quickly said, I heard you guys last night. You're looking for the ghost, right? I have information on the ghost. The words hung in the air. Everyone froze. The ghost is a woman. You said you have information on a ghost. Ava hurried forward, her face a mask of skepticism. No one has ever seen the ghost. How would you know anything? Hey. It seems you've misunderstood something, Silas scoffed. It's not that no one has seen the ghost. It's that the people who have seen her don't know she's the ghost. His words made everyone frown. Alex stared intently at Silas. Keep talking. I want food. Silas refused to say more. And water. Dylan's mouth twitched. That's all you're asking for? Even if he didn't know who the ghost was, he could tell this information was incredibly valuable. And with that kind of leverage, Silas's only demands were food and water. Can't you think bigger? What the hell has this BSO done to this guy? Alex thought for a moment, then said to Marco, Bring him a takeout box I had earlier. Are you people devils? Silas finally broke. I don't eat leftovers. Don't push your luck, Kane said, rolling up his sleeves menacingly. Have you forgotten you're a prisoner? Don't prisoners have human rights? Silas screamed, on the verge of a breakdown. No. Everyone answered in unison. Dylan buried his face in his hands. Was this really the BSO? He remembered Arthur Wallace describing the organization as a force for justice. But looking at them now, what part of this screamed justice? This was a straight-up syndicate operation. Kane glared at Silas, then yelled over his shoulder, Marco, lock the door and let Leo deal with him. Leo blinked. Hey, Kane, are you getting a little too big for your britches? Or do you think I can't handle explosives anymore? How dare you say that to my face? All right, everyone, stop it. Ava finally stepped in, her head throbbing. Not a single person here was normal. You talk first. We'll get you food after, she said to Silas. It won't be leftovers, right? Silas asked cautiously. No, Ava said, exasperated. Swear it. Silas was still suspicious. Hey, I swear to God, I'm about to lose it with you. Kane couldn't take it anymore and rolled up his sleeves again, ready to throw down. Marco barely managed to hold him back. Seeing this, Silas finally relented. Fine, but after I talk, you can't torture me anymore. At the very least, you have to feed me. Deal. No problem, Ava promised. With that assurance, Silas sat down on the sofa, took a deep breath, and a distant look came over his face. Ever since I got into this line of work, all I've done is tail people. Follow them. Silas began to recount the story, his voice filled with a weary sigh. It was a year ago, one night. I got a job to track a key figure from the Croft family. The job was extremely dangerous, but my daughter was critically ill at the time, and I was desperate for money, so I took it. It was only after I got the full details that I realized the person that wanted me to follow was the head of the family himself, Kalen Croft. Hearing this, the room filled with surprised murmurs. This guy had tailed the leader of the Croft family and lived to tell the tale. He must have some serious skills. A shame he ran into a cheat code, like Leo. What about your daughter? Dylan asked. Silas fell silent, then shook his head with a bitter smile. It was a terminal illness. No matter how much money I made, it would have only prolonged her suffering. After that job, she left this world. A somber silence fell over the room. Silas scanned their faces, then gave a slight laugh. Got a smoke? Let me have one. Kane pulled a cigarette from his pack, handed it to Silas, and lit it for him. Thanks, Silas said, taking a long, satisfying drag. Let's get back to the ghost. That night, Kalen Croft suddenly left his estate alone, carrying a birdcage. I thought my chance had come, so I followed him. I tailed him to a small park near the Croft estate and watched him go inside. I was about to follow him in, but what? Ava pressed. Silas's expression grew grave, his brow furrowed. I remember it clearly. Just as I was about to step forward, I felt this sudden dread in my gut. In our line of work, you learn to trust your instincts. So instead of going in, I pulled back and waited for Kalen to come out. The strange thing is, he stayed in that park for over 2 hours. What's even stranger is that during those 2 hours, besides Kalen, absolutely no one else went in or out of that park. Silas flicked his ash. When Kalen came out, I saw a woman standing beside him. And behind that woman, without exception, were agents of the Umbra. They, all of them, were taking orders from her, so I'm certain of it. That woman is the ghost. The revelation hit the room like a shockwave. Everyone was stunned. The ghost was a woman? Are you sure you didn't see it wrong? Alex asked. We're talking about the ghost, number 1 on the Harrow Index. How could she be a woman? I'm absolutely sure, Silas said with conviction. The Umbra only takes orders from the ghost. No one else can command them. The moment I realized that, I knew I could never speak of what I saw that night, not even if it meant my death. But you're speaking of it now, aren't you? Dylan pointed out. Because you people forced me to, you moron. Silas roared. I thought you said you'd rather die than talk. Well, I'm not dead yet, am I? Dylan was speechless. He had no counter-argument. Goddamn it, he had a point. Silas took a deep breath and stared intently at Ava. So, I need you to protect me. The ghost and Kalen Croft must have been discussing something vital that night. If they find out I was there, the Umbra will hunt me down. And now that you know, you'll be targeted for elimination too. We're all in the same boat now. Before Ava or the others could respond, Dylan blinked, then shot to his feet. The Burrito King and Pretty Boy Pistolar UF. Dylan couldn't hold it in any longer. He pointed a shaking finger at Silas. If this was something that would get us killed just for hearing it, why the hell didn't you let us leave first? Who the hell wanted to hear any of this? My sister is still here. He genuinely wanted to murder Silas. How is this any different from being robbed? Dylan was losing his mind. He had just wanted to drop by with his sister and get Leo's help rescuing Arthur Wallace. How did it turn into being marked for death? What did any of this have to do with him? He didn't even know who or what the ghost was. Dylan's outburst left Silas momentarily stunned. He pointed back at Dylan. He's not with you guys. I'm with your grandpa's crew. Dylan yelled, all semblance of composure gone. He was absolutely furious. In contrast, Willow was remarkably calm. Hey, Dylan, calm down. It's no big deal. What's a couple more grasshoppers on the rope? Marco said, trying to soothe him. It's fine. Even if the Umbra comes after us, we've got Leo to handle it. Dylan's face twitched. Was that the point? The point was he was an innocent bystander. All he wanted was to save his uncle. Now, not only was Arthur still in jail, but Dylan was in danger of being hunted by assassins. Who wouldn't lose their mind? If he had known this was going to happen, maybe rescuing Arthur wasn't so urgent after all. He wasn't going to die anytime soon anyway. All right, I've said what I needed to say, Silas declared, banging his fists on the table. I want to eat. Feed me. Alex stood up and handed Silas a fresh takeout box. Silas snatched it and started shoveling food into his mouth without another word. The woman's face, do you remember it? Alex asked. Silas swallowed a mouthful of rice and nodded. It was a bit blurry, but if she stood in front of me, I'd recognize her. A face can change, but the aura she had, that can't be faked. I'd recognize her even if she was reduced to ash. Ava turned toward the computer desk. Zara, can you pull up photos of every woman in Viridian City? Zara thought for a moment, then nodded. I can. I just need to hack into the local record system. Is it difficult? How long will it take? Ava asked. Zara didn't answer. Her hands just flew across the keyboard. A dozen seconds later, she tapped one last key with her index finger and smiled. Done. Her monitor was now a mosaic of countless women's faces. If they have an official record in Viridian, they're on here, Zara said calmly. Everyone crowded around, staring at the screen. One word came to mind. Damn. So this was the power of the BSO's top hacker in Ethelberg. It was terrifyingly impressive. Alex nodded, then turned to Silas. You're going to sit here and look through these photos. Pick out anyone who even remotely resembles the ghost. We can narrow the search by age and other features. Fine. Silas agreed without hesitation. He was tied to this group now. He needed their protection, so he was more than willing to cooperate. So, next on the agenda, we rest. Leo suggested. Rest your ass. Dylan snapped. Didn't you promise we were going to rescue my uncle tonight? Oh, right. Almost forgot about that. Leo slapped his forehead. Give me the address. I'll go now. After Dylan gave him the location, he asked, You're going alone? I'll go with him, Kane said with a grin. Perfect chance to test out my new rifle. The words triggered something in Leo again. You got a new rifle? His eyes lit up. I'm warning you. Don't you dare touch my new rifle, Kane said, suddenly on guard. I won't. I'll just hold it. Not even for a second. Leo pouted and muttered under his breath. Don't let me touch it, then. Stingy bastard. I'll replace your gun sooner or later. Just then, Ava walked over to a drawer and pulled out 2 ornate, dark gold masks. You two were these. Don't expose your identities, Ava said, handing the masks to Leo and Kane. I could just use my doppelganger skill, Leo offered. Wear them. Ava's voice grew louder. She'd already gotten them out. Leo obediently put on the mask, then turned to Marco. Marco, give me a few grenades. He was moving up in the world. The Reed family shoddy explosives were beneath him now. The BSO's grenades were the real deal. Soon, Marco returned with the grenades and Kane's sniper rifle. The legendary duo of Burrito King and Pretty Boy Pistol was back in business. An hour later, inside a Viridian City police station. Evening had fallen. The front doors were locked, but the station was far from empty. A group of men sat around a table, playing poker. Wolf, your luck is insane tonight. Another full house. Yeah, that's our Wolf for you. Haha. If Wolf didn't have the goods, you think Mr. Kane would have picked him. Ever since Wolf got us in with Mr. Kane, life's been a dream. One of them, a sleazy grin on his face, added, if it wasn't for Mr. Kane, I'd never have believed we'd get to wear these uniforms. He tugged at the police blues he was wearing, and the others roared with laughter. The man in the center, Wolf, smiled faintly. Remember this. Viridian will belong to the main cartel sooner or later. We hitched our wagon to Mr. Kane, so things are only going to get better for us. For now, the most important thing is to do the job he gave us. The others nodded in agreement. Wolf's right. Mr. Kane just wants us to take extra special care of that guy, Arthur Wallace. Haha, I've been taking real good care of him the last few days. Easy does it. Don't kill the guy. We'll have a hard time explaining that to Mr. Kane. Relax, I know my limits. Come on. Deal the next hand. Wolf chuckled and reached for the deck of cards. But in that exact instant, boom, a deafening explosion ripped through the air from outside. Everyone jumped to their feet. What was that? An explosion? Wolf frowned, a sense of foreboding creeping into his heart. Go see what's going on. The men nodded, grabbed their weapons, and cautiously moved outside. A thick cloud of dust and debris obscured their vision. They couldn't see a thing. Then, a stranger's voice cut through the haze, and a silhouette slowly emerged from the smoke. Anyone home? Leo asked, casually tossing a grenade from one hand to the other. He stepped out of the smoke, saw Wolf and his men, and surveyed the scene with a light chuckle. Hi, I'd like to file a report. A daddy issues discussion inside the police station. Wolf stared at the masked man, his face twitching. File a report? Who the hell files a report with a grenade? This isn't reporting a crime. This is committing one. You've got a lot of nerve, breaking into a police station in the middle of the night. Wolf shouted, his voice low and threatening. You're going to pay for this. Leo remained perfectly still, unfazed. Wolf's eyes narrowed. He gave a subtle wave of his hand. Guns out. Take down this lunatic. Yes, sir. Just as the men raised their weapons to fire, a single bullet sliced through the night. Crack! A gunshot echoed from a distance. The sniper around found its mark, and one of the men crumpled to the ground in a spray of blood, dead on impact. Shit! A sniper! Realizing they were exposed, everyone froze. The single shot had terrified Wolf. A cold sweat soaked his shirt, and his legs began to tremble. Hey, buddy, we can talk about this, Wolf managed, forcing a smile. What? What brings you here tonight? Leo stood his ground, nonchalantly playing with the grenade in his hand. Already told you. I'm here to file a report. What? What kind of report? Haven't decided yet. Huh. Is that a problem? Leo's tone hardened. And no, not at all. Wolf shook his head frantically. No problem whatsoever. Behind the golden mask, Leo's eyes were locked on Wolf. The psychological pressure was immense. Sweat dripped from Wolf's face, but he didn't dare wipe it away. He was afraid the sniper in the distance might misunderstand and put a bullet between his eyes. After a moment of thought, Leo said flatly, "Do you have Quentin Kane's number?" "Mr. Kane." Wolf froze, then nodded vigorously. "Yes, yes, I do." "Call him," Leo commanded. A flicker of hesitation crossed Wolf's face, but he quickly remembered his predicament. He had no choice. With trembling hands, he pulled out his phone and dialed Quentin Kane. Ring. "Yeah? What is it?" Quentin's voice came from the other end. Wolf didn't dare speak. He looked nervously at Leo. Leo stepped forward and took the phone from his hand. "Hey, Quentin." "Who is this?" "I'm your father." The line went silent. Not only was Quentin stunned, but Wolf and his men were utterly dumbfounded. Who the hell is this?" Quentin's voice was laced with fury. "I already told you, I'm your father," Leo said, his expression unchanged. "And today, your old man is going to teach you a lesson. In Viridian, the main cartel doesn't rule everything. Our leader, the ghost of the Umbra, has spoken. From this day forward, the main cartel is an enemy of the Umbra. This is war to the death." Quentin was shocked. "You're with the Umbra? I'm your father. You want to break the four-pact agreement? We want to be your father. You bastard. You're asking to die. I'm asking to be your father." Quentin was completely apoplectic. He'd never been so humiliated in his life. And over the phone, there was nothing he could do about it. Nearby, Wolf and his men were simply paralyzed. This was a conflict far beyond their pay grade. On one side was the young master of the main cartel. On the other, an assassin from the Umbra. He couldn't afford to offend either of them. A small smile played on Leo's lips. "All right, I'm done messing with you," he said smoothly. "Tell Jasper Kane that if he dares to show his face on the day of the four-pack signing, the Umbra will kill him." With that, Leo hung up. He casually tossed the phone back to Wolf. "Now, give me Arthur Wallace." Arthur Wallace? The name registered, and Wolf quickly realized who the masked man was here for. This assassin from the Umbra was here to rescue that guy. "Quick, go escort Mr. Wallace out here." Wolf barked at one of his subordinates. The artistic phrasing wasn't lost on anyone. The subordinate nodded, grabbed a set of keys, and ran toward the holding cells. Soon, Arthur Wallace was being helped out, his face bruised and swollen. Leo's brow furrowed. He wasn't a doctor, but he could see the injuries weren't life-threatening. He couldn't be sure about internal damage, though. "Sir, Mr. Wallace was already injured when he was brought in." "It wasn't us," Wolf explained cautiously, not daring to breathe too loudly. Leo remained silent. As Arthur walked closer, he looked up at the masked figure, his eyes narrowing. "Who is this? Why is he rescuing me?" When Arthur was right in front of him, Leo spoke softly. "Mr. Wallace, are you all right?" Arthur froze. That voice. It was familiar. His eyes inadvertently flickered to the grenade in Leo's hand. His pupils contracted as a memory clicked into place. "Are you MMPH?" Leo clamped a hand over Arthur's mouth. "Don't blow my cover," he whispered. Arthur blinked and nodded. Leo released him and turned his gaze back to Wolf and his men. Wolf felt a chill run down his spine. "Sir," he stammered, "is there anything else?" "No, just thinking about what to do with you," Leo said bluntly. Cold sweat poured down their backs. Then Leo's eyebrows shot up. He pulled a revolver from his belt. "Right, let's play Russian roulette. One of you dies and I leave. How's that sound?" He smiled at Wolf. "You first." Wolf swallowed hard, his legs shaking. Are we really doing this? But being the first, while scientifically having the same odds, felt different. Metaphysically, the first one usually survived. Wolf took a deep breath and stared at Leo. "You have to keep your word." "Of course. I guarantee it on my honor." Leo chuckled, then pointed the revolver at Wolf's head. "Ready. Ready." Wolf's face was a mask of grim determination. Leo spun the cylinder, the clicks echoing in the silence. Suddenly, Wolf's eyes widened in horror. He saw something. "Wait," he screamed. Bang! The bullet tore through Wolf's forehead. His eyes went wide as he fell backward, lifeless. For a moment, Leo himself was stunned. That's some seriously bad luck. Hit the jackpot on the first try? Arthur couldn't watch anymore. "You were so busy spinning the cylinder. You forgot to take the other bullets out, didn't you?" Leo's eyes widened. He quickly opened the revolver's cylinder. Sure enough, 5 bullets remained. The 6th had just been claimed by Wolf. A dead, awkward silence fell over the scene. The maestro of the age. If I said that was an accident, would you believe me?" Leo asked awkwardly. The remaining men just stared at him with expressions that screamed, "What do you think?" "Well, he's dead. Why are you still here?" Leo's tone shifted, turning menacing. "You stick around, and we'll have 5 more rounds to play with." That was all it took. The men's faces paled, and they scrambled away, running for their lives. Leo watched them go and let out a slow breath. He hadn't killed them for a reason. He needed them to spread the word. The Umbra has openly declared war on the main cartel. Even if the rumor wasn't entirely credible, some idiot would believe it. Then it would spread from one person to 10, from 10 to 100, until half of Viridian's underworld had heard about it. The power of public opinion was a terrifying thing. He refused to believe the ghost could stay hidden after that. Why bother with the tedious process of identifying her from photos? That could take forever and might not even be accurate. This was the most direct approach. Ahem. Leo, what are you doing here? Now that they were alone, Arthur Wallace finally said his name. I'm here on business. Ran into Dylan, and he asked me to come get you, Leo said, helping Arthur toward the exit. And I've got to say, Mr. Wallace, why do you have to close the barbecue joint? If you didn't have time to run it, you could have just hired a couple of college kids. College students these days are cheap and hardworking. Great value. Leo rambled on. It was clear he really did love Arthur's barbecue place. It was a close second to the Inferno burrito truck, mainly because it was free. Arthur was speechless, a dark line forming on his forehead. And you're not a college student, I suppose? Just then, Kane emerged from the shadows, his sniper rifle in hand, a dissatisfied look on his face. He'd come out here, all fired up, only to get off a single shot. Are you sure this will work? This misdirection? Kane asked, is the main cartel really stupid enough to believe you're from the Umbra based on one phone call? He'd heard the entire conversation through his earpiece. The main cartel definitely won't believe it, Leo said with a shake of his head, then grinned. But they can't completely disbelieve it, either. They'll be on guard against the Umbra, at least a little. And most importantly, they have no one to confront, Leo said wryly. You think after Jasper Kane hears about this, he can just find the ghost and ask her if she's planning a war? Kane paused, then shook his head. If the ghost were that easy to find, they wouldn't still be empty-handed. Exactly. So this can only end in one of two ways. Leo held up 2 fingers. 1. The ghost reveals herself to explain things to Jasper Kane, but in doing so, her identity is no longer a secret. 2. The ghost remains hidden, and as the rumors spread, friction will develop between the Umbra and the main cartel, even if there was none before. Either way, it works out for us. As Leo spoke, Kane's eyes grew wider and wider. He stared at Leo, rubbed his eyes in disbelief, and pointed a finger at him. I don't know who you are, but get the hell out of Leo's body. The meathead, I know, could never come up with a plan this smart. Leo's mouth twitched. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I'm not smart. I was the top-ranked freshman, for crying out loud. By a landslide. He scoffed, deciding not to argue with Kane. Geniuses always had to endure the doubts of the masses. Could you guys maybe take me to hospital? Arthur's voice was weak. I'm actually hurt pretty badly. Leo and Kane immediately snapped to attention and helped him into the car. Kane got behind the wheel and sped toward the BSO headquarters. They had medical personnel there, too. The car roared to life and quickly left the police station behind. Wolf's body lay on the ground, forgotten. Suddenly, a figure materialized from the shadows. The man's eyes, hidden under the brim of a hat, gazed dispassionately at the corpse. Professor Miller lit a cigarette and stood there in silence. Then his body trembled slightly. That's actually pretty funny. He turned, looking in the direction Leo's car had gone. The student truly has surpassed the master, he mused. This kid's talent for stirring up trouble is every bit as good as his old man's. But now, the Umbra and that woman are going to have a real headache. There was a hint of schadenfreude in his tone. He shook his head with a smile, then crushed the cigarette but under his heel. A ghost can be a dead person, he murmured, and a person can be a living ghost. He pulled the brim of his hat lower and began to walk, a look of anticipation in his eyes. Leo, he thought, whether it's the hand of fate or that man Sterling is truly a prophet, the curtains have risen on the great drama of Viridian City. The years of effort from the BSO, Sterling's painstakingly laid plans, and the countless eyes from the great families in New York City watching this place. Viridian was no longer a simple struggle between 4 powers. It was now just one corner of a massive chessboard, and the moves made in this corner were of critical importance. Leland Vance abandoned everything, even New York, to come here and ally with the main cartel. That woman and Kalen Croft have been lurking in Viridian for years, waiting for the right moment to seize the advantage. And the newly risen Black Dragon crew is being controlled by an unseen hand. The game is getting more and more interesting. A corner of Professor Miller's mouth turned up, a rare flicker of excitement in his eyes. He was a man who had already died once. Now, he was merely an outsider. After what happened in Westlake City, after seeing Dr. Marks die, he had no desire to re-enter the game. He just wanted to be a spectator, a witness to the changing of an era. He suddenly remembered something the old-timers used to say, when the world has descended into a chaos beyond saving, the maestro of the age will rise, hailed by the masses, and fire the shot that saves the world from the summit of the clouds. Professor Miller once thought the maestro of the last age would be Sterling, but he had failed. Now, would Leo be the maestro of this era, or would Sterling make a comeback? As he pondered this, his anticipation grew. His figure melted back into the night, as if he had never been there at all. Past lives and present dangers back at the BSO headquarters. Arthur Wallace was receiving medical attention from none other than Marco. With a focused expression, Marco skillfully cleaned and dressed Arthur's wounds. Leo watched, dumbfounded. Marco, wait, you're a doctor? Kane explained for him. Marco graduated from med school, but the medical field is way too competitive. He couldn't find a job, so he ended up in the underworld. Leo's face twitched. Seriously? Marco, you don't have a system too, do you? Let's not dwell on the past. Marco sighed wistfully as he applied an antiseptic. Marco, do you have any other hidden talents? Leo couldn't resist asking. Leo, I'm all out of tricks, Marco said with a wry smile. I'm just a normal guy. How could I be like you? Leo nodded. If Marco had pulled out one more surprising skill, he would have started to suspect his system was shopping for a new host. Uncle, how are you feeling? Dylan asked, his voice filled with concern. Arthur frowned. I'll live. He looked around at the faces in the room. Thank you all. If it weren't for you, I don't know how long I would have been stuck in that hellhole. No problem, Mr. Wallace. Just make sure you reopen the barbecue joint when you get back, Leo said with a grin. Arthur was at a loss for words, but he managed a small, tired smile and shook his head. Ava shot Leo a mild glare before speaking gently. Mr. Wallace, what are your plans now? Will you stay in Viridian or go back to Ethelberg? She paused. We can take care of Willa's school transfer paperwork anytime. Arthur was about to answer when a quiet but firm voice cut him off. I'm not leaving, Willa said from the side. Not until Jasper Kane is dead. Dylan frowned, about to scold her, but Arthur raised a hand, stopping him. Besides her parents, he had spent the most time with Willa. He knew her better than anyone. Willa, do you understand the main cartel? Arthur looked at her calmly. Do you know what kind of man Jasper Kane is? Willa was silent for a long moment before answering. I only know that my parents died at his hands. So he has to die. I'm not like some people who just want to hide. As she spoke, she shot a pointed look at Dylan. Dylan blinked. What the hell? Can't you just make your point without taking a shot at me? You think I don't want revenge? Hearing Willa's words, Arthur sighed softly. Fine. You're an adult now. I should respect your choice. After a long pause, he turned his gaze to Leo. Leo, could I trouble you to look after Willa? In my condition, I'm useless here in Viridian. In fact, I'd just be a liability. I plan to head back to Ethelberg. Willa and Dylan are the only family I have left in this world. I want them to live. Everyone's eyes, including Ava's, turned to Leo. She might be the commander, but she knew the true core of this team was him. That was why Arthur Wallace was asking Leo, and only Leo, not the BSO, not Ava, not Alex. Just Leo. Leo met Arthur's gaze, then glanced at Willa. A wide grin spread across his face. No problem, Mr. Wallace. Just consider it payment for all the free barbecue. Leo was surprised by Arthur's decision, and he respected it. As Arthur said, Dylan and Willa were all he had left. If Leo were in his shoes, he would never let Willa take such a risk. But Arthur respected her choice, even if it was immature and reckless. That was what earned Leo's admiration. Dylan stood by, looking like he wanted to say something, but in the end, he just sighed in resignation. What, you want to go back? Leo teased. Dylan shot him a cold look. My sister's still here. You think I can just leave? Willa glanced up. I didn't ask you to stay. Can't I stay because I want to? Dylan's voice rose. Why was this girl as infuriating as Leo? Willa looked at him for a long moment, her eyes unreadable under the brim of her cap. Whatever. Arthur just watched them, a sad smile on his face. The two of them had been at each other's throats since they were kids. It seemed nothing had changed. All right then. In a couple of days, I'll arrange for someone to escort Mr. Wallace back to Ethelberg, Ava announced. Arthur nodded. Thank you for your trouble. Of course, Ava smiled. For now, please just rest and recover. With Marco's help, Arthur went to a room to rest. Ava then turned to Leo. The Croft siblings are awake. They're demanding to see you. Oh, they're up. Leo raised an eyebrow. He'd almost forgotten about them. As he followed Ava downstairs toward the storage room, he took the opportunity to slip his hand into hers. They hadn't had much chance for intimacy since arriving in Viridian. Ava felt his hand and shot him a look but she didn't pull away. Alex and the others were upstairs, and this floor was empty. A few steps from the storage room, Leo suddenly stopped. Ava paused, turning to ask, "What's wrong, MMPH?" Leo pulled her in by the waist and kissed her. The sneak, Ava thought, swatting at him playfully, but soon her hand stopped hitting and started wrapping around his neck. After a long moment, they finally broke apart. Ava was breathing heavily, her beautiful eyes glaring at him. "Are you satisfied now?" "No." Leo shook his head. "Stop messing around. We have work to do." "I'm doing work. This is harassment, MMPH." Leo silenced her again, all the pent-up tension of the last few weeks finally finding release. Ava began to respond in kind, not even stopping him when his hand started to misbehave. Lost in their own world, they completely forgot about the Croft siblings locked in the storage room. An offer they can't refuse. A while later, the storage room door opened. Leo emerged, looking thoroughly satisfied. Ava followed behind him, cheeks flushed, glaring at the man in front of her. Inside the room, Corbin Croft saw Leo and spat his name through gritted teeth. "Leo, Jr., who the hell are you?" He'd already heard from Raina about the Leo Augustine alias, so he knew this man's name wasn't Leo Jr. MMPH. MMPH. Raina, gagged with tape, could only make muffled sounds. She hadn't been gagged initially, but she was too loud and talked too much, earning her the special treatment. Leo cleaned out an ear with his pinky. "What does it matter who I am? Then why did you kidnap us? Seriously? You two were plotting against me. Am I not allowed to kidnap you back?" Corbin was at a loss for words. Raina had, in fact, told him to deal with Leo Augustine, but he knew there had to be another reason Leo had kidnapped them. Corbin's eyes darted around. "You're afraid we'll expose your fake identity, aren't you? But since we're from the Croft family, you don't dare kill us. So you had to kidnap us instead." Leo nodded, acknowledging his point. Anyone with half a brain could figure that much out. Just then, Ava stepped forward. "Let me handle this." Leo moved aside, pulled up a small stool, and sat down. Ava turned to Corbin. "Mr. Croft, we've been wanting to speak with you." "Speak? Is this how you speak?" Corbin struggled against his bonds. "This is just a precaution. I hope you can understand," Ava said, then got to the point. "We want to know, what is the Croft family's position on the four-pact agreement?" Corbin's eyes flashed. "Your target is the four-pact agreement?" "That's right," Ava admitted openly. Corbin let out a cold laugh. "And why would I tell you? Even if I don't, what can you do to us? You wouldn't dare touch us. Because the moment you do, regardless of the reason, the Croft family will declare all-out war on you. So why should I tell you anything?" Hearing this, Leo stood up, walked over to Corbin, and raised his hand. Smack! The slap echoed in the small room. "Who the hell do you think you're talking to?" Leo snarled. "You think the Crofts are so tough?" Corbin was stunned by the slap, but what stunned him even more was what Leo said next. "Talk to our commander with some respect, or I'll strip you naked, dump you on a street corner, and hang a sign around your neck with your full name on it. Corbin Croft of the Croft family. Are you a demon? What kind of carbon-based life form thinks of something like that?" Corbin suddenly felt a chill. He had a sinking feeling this man would actually do it. He just looked like the kind of person who would. He was the young master of the Croft family. If he were stripped naked and left on the street, he would never be able to show his face in public again. Raina, who had been struggling and mumbling the whole time, immediately fell silent. As a girl, she wanted no part of that. Seeing that they had both been pacified, Leo returned to his stool. Ava shot him a helpless glance, then turned back to Corbin. "Mr. Croft, we really don't have any malicious intent toward you or your sister." Corbin gave her a look that said, "You really expect me to believe that?" Seeing this, Ava cut to the chase. "So what is the Croft family's position on the four-pact agreement?" Corbin hesitated, then said, "I don't know the specifics. My father is handling all of it, but for what I can tell, he's definitely got something up his sleeve. When it comes to the four-pact, none of the four major powers are as united as they claim to be." This wasn't top-secret information, so Corbin didn't mind sharing. Ava nodded. It was about what she had expected. All four powers had their own agendas. Even the main cartel, who had initiated the pact, likely had ulterior motives. "Then is your family interested in cooperating with us?" Ava asked. "Our target is the main cartel." Corbin's pupils contracted. "These people wanted to take on a main cartel? Then why the hell did you kidnap me?" "Go kidnap that bastard Quentin Kane." "That's not my decision to make," Corbin said in a low voice. "You could talk to my father about it." Ava shook her head slightly. Approaching Kalen Croft was too risky. None of these older generation leaders were simple. They were all old foxes. She was afraid one wrong move would land her in a trap. That was why she was being so cautious with every step. Sometimes she wished Julian was here to be the commander. With his mind, he could go toe-to-toe with those old men. But her brother had run off and was probably on a beach somewhere. She couldn't even reach him by phone. Life is hard. Ava sighed. Are you going to go back first? I could talk to my father on your behalf. How about that? Corbin suggested persuasively. In your dreams. Leo sneered. Once outsiders come in here, they don't leave. But you just said you were going to strip me naked and throw me out. That's different. Leo snapped. Say one more word, and I'll do it right now. Corbin glared at Leo, but said nothing more. Just you wait, he thought. When my family's forces come for me, I'll be the one stripping you naked and leaving you on the street. His phone had a tracking device. He believed that if he could just endure this humiliation, the Croft family would surely come to his rescue. What Corbin didn't know was that Zara had already found the tracking device on his phone. And, at Leo's suggestion, she had changed its location to the main cartel's headquarters. Right now, the Croft family systems would be showing Corbin's location as inside the main compound. If they moved quickly, they should be arriving there any minute now. The thought of it made Leo giddy. He couldn't wait to go watch the show. With their intervention, the situation in Viridian was already in chaos. But if their fifth faction was exposed, they would be targeted and annihilated by all sides. They had to remain hidden. Seeing that they wouldn't get any more information, Ava gave Leo a look, and the two of them left the storage room. Corbin stared daggers at their backs, not saying a word. Author's note. I'll see if I have time to write more later. If not, I'll give you guys 4 chapters tomorrow. Knocking on the wrong door at that exact moment, outside the Meng cartel's estate. A large contingent of the Croft family's forces had arrived. You Mengs, hand over our young master and young miss right now. Or today is the day our 2 families go to war. Shameless bastards. Talking about alliances while pulling this kind of crap in the dark. Jasper Kane, get out here and face us. The Crofts were blocking the entrance, shouting and cursing. After discovering Corbin and Reyna were missing, they had immediately tracked Corbin's phone. The location pinged right inside the Meng estate. The conclusion was obvious. The Meng cartel had kidnapped them. The Crofts were furious. So, Jasper Kane, this is the kind of dirty game you want to play? They had immediately mobilized their forces, ready to declare war. Kalen Croft stood at the rear, observing his men with a slight frown. Something was wrong. Very wrong. In his view, Jasper Kane had no reason to kidnap Corbin and Reyna. And yet, the tracker was clearly located at the Meng estate. If it wasn't Jasper, then who could it be? Kalen remained perfectly calm, analyzing the possibilities. Jasper wouldn't do this. The Black Dragon crew might, but they have no motive. The Umbra is even more unlikely. So, if this wasn't Jasper, it means a 5th party has entered the game and is trying to stir up chaos. Reyna said she was going to the school for a parent-teacher conference this afternoon. Then they disappeared. Could the problem be at the school? Kalen's brow furrowed. A thought struck him. He remembered Reyna saying the music teacher she wanted to deal with was Mr. Sue. Leo Evans? If that music teacher is Leo Evans, then this all makes sense. And it wouldn't be difficult for a group like his to alter a GPS location. Kalen swore under his breath. He was now 80% sure Leo was behind this. The only question was, why the hell did you kidnap my son and daughter? Are you that bored? Still, he felt a small sense of relief. At least they were in Leo's hands, which was far better than being in Jasper Kane's. Meanwhile, inside the Meng estate, Jasper Kane listened to the curses from outside, his expression like he'd just swallowed something foul. Had that old fox Kalen lost his mind? Who the hell kidnapped his children? Boss, what should we do now? His butler asked. The Crofts outside are extremely agitated. They might actually start a war. War my ass. Jasper roared. Even if the Croft family burns my estate to the ground, his son and daughter aren't here. He can't keep an eye on his own damn kids, and when they go missing, he comes knocking on my door. That old bastard Kalen is getting more shameless by the day. The butler bowed his head, not daring to say a word. After his tirade, Jasper stood up and stalked toward the entrance. Boss, it's dangerous to go out there now, the butler called out anxiously. I'd like to see if Kalen Croft actually has the guts to start a war. Jasper sneered. Creak. The main gate of the Meng estate swung open. Jasper Kane emerged, his hands clasped behind his back, his face a thundercloud. The shouting from the Croft men immediately died down. As long as Jasper was inside, they could curse him all they wanted. But now that he was here, the only one qualified to speak to him was Kalen Croft. Kalen, what is the meaning of this? Jasper asked in a low, dangerous tone. What's the meaning of this? Kalen's face was a mask of fury. I was about to ask you the same thing. I did not kidnap your son and daughter. And I'm just supposed to believe you? Then what do you want? Let my men search your estate. Impossible. Jasper refused without a second thought. Let Kalen's men search his property? Knowing Kalen, they wouldn't be searching for people. They'd be looting the place. Then you have something to hide. Kalen pointed an accusing finger at Jasper. The more you resist, the more guilty you look. Even though he was fairly certain Jasper wasn't behind it, he was already here. And the tracker did point to the Meng estate. So, Kalen decided to press the advantage and pin it all on him. You're not getting out of this today without giving me something. My daughter, she hasn't even graduated from high school. My son, he just got back home. Jasper Kane, if you have a problem, take it up with me. Leave my children out of it. Kalen took a deep breath, his voice filled with righteous anger. You release them, and the Croft family will agree to sign the four-pact agreement. That's what you wanted by kidnapping them, isn't it? Just let my children go, and I'll sign it. His voice was filled with such sorrow. To the onlookers, he was a pitiful father, forced to compromise with a villain to save his children. Boss, you can't. Damn the Mengs. This is too much. Boss, we can't bow to them. We'll fight them to the death to get the young master and young miss back. Yeah, boss. Let's fight. 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 The crowd erupted. The Croft men's eyes were red as they glared at Jasper Kane. At the same time, several onlookers, unafraid of the danger, were filming the scene. Once this got out, the Meng cartel's reputation would be ruined. Jasper's face was ashen. He genuinely wanted to put a bullet in Kalen Croft. What did he care if he signed the damn agreement or not? And what did he mean, release them? Where is he supposed to find them to release them from? If Corbin and Reyna were actually here, Jasper would have respectfully escorted them out himself just to get Kalen and his mob off his property. But they weren't here. Under immense pressure, Jasper forced the words out. They are not here. Jasper. Kane. Kalen's eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse. They're just children. Do you really need me to kneel before you? Is that what it will take for you to spare them? I'll kneel to you if it makes you go away. Jasper was about to explode. He was just sitting at home, minding his own business, and this disaster fell from the sky. He glanced at the onlookers at the edge of the crowd. He knew that if this story got out, his reputation was finished. In Viridian, news like this spread like wildfire. There was only one way to prove his innocence. Kalen Croft. You win. Jasper ground out, his teeth clenched so hard they might crack. I'll let you search. Will that be enough for you? An apology, boss, the butler protested. Letting them in is like letting wolves into the sheepfold. Jasper shot him a furious glare. Did he think he didn't know that? But he had no other choice. If Kalen kept pressing the issue, it would only get worse. It was better to let him search and find nothing. Then Kalen would have nothing more to say. Kalen, let me be clear. If you don't find them, don't you dare accuse me of hiding them somewhere else. And you will apologize to me and clear my name. Kalen nodded. Of course. I, Kalen Croft, am not as shameless as you, Jasper Kane. That's it. One more insult, and I'm really going to lose it. Kalen, accompanied by a few of his men, strode into the Meng estate as if he owned the place. He wasn't afraid of Jasper making a move. Even if they wanted to, now was not the time. Besides, the rest of the Croft family was waiting right outside. Jasper stuck to Kalen's side like glue, terrified the old fox would pull some other trick. Kalen was pretending to search for his children, but he was already certain the Meng cartel had nothing to do with this. Jasper's attitude made it clear he was just as baffled by the situation as everyone else. Which meant it had to be that kid, Leo. What a vicious little bastard, leading me all the way here, Kalen thought. But since he was already here, he wasn't about to leave empty-handed. Where's your armory? Kalen asked suddenly. Jasper froze, then his face contorted with rage. Kalen, you want to search my armory too? If you don't let me, it means you have something to hide. Hearing those words again, Jasper's fists clenched. He knew Kalen wouldn't just quietly search for people. This way, Jasper led him toward the armory. Since he'd already let the wolf in, he knew he wouldn't be able to get rid of it until it had eaten its fill. Well now, this is impressive. Your arsenal is much larger than ours, Kalen remarked, strolling through the armory as if he were on a tour. This wasn't a search party, it was an intelligence-gathering mission. Have you seen enough, Kalen? Jasper gritted his teeth. The armory is not that big. As you can see, your son and daughter are not here. Why are you in such a hurry? Feeling guilty? Don't push me. Hey. No need to get angry. Kalen smiled, then exited the armory and looked around. Suddenly, he turned to Jasper, his voice laced with meaning. Leland Vance. He isn't here, is he? Jasper's eyes hardened. I don't know what you're talking about. Playing dumb? Everyone in Viridian knows you're working with Leland Vance. Nonsense. So stubborn. Kalen chuckled, then casually wandered around a bit more. He found no trace of Corbin or Reyna. Finally, he let out a deep sigh. It seems my children truly are not here. Jasper's eye twitched. I've been telling you that from the very beginning. With a look of regret, Kalen walked out of the estate. Kalen, aren't you forgetting something? Jasper said, his voice a mockery of a smile. Didn't you say you'd apologize and clear my name if you didn't find them? Kalen feigned a look of sudden realization. Haha, I completely forgot. He stood up straight, faced Jasper, and his voice boomed across the courtyard. I'm sorry, Boss Kane. I shouldn't have suspected you, nor should I have called you a despicable villain. I especially shouldn't have presumed you guilty based on your long history of evil deeds. I am conducting a profound self-criticism, and I want to help clarify the situation for Boss Kane. While it's true that Boss Kane has a past filled with arson, pillaging, and every other evil imaginable, today I was indeed wrong to accuse him, and for that, I sincerely apologize. I'm sorry. Kalen and his men bowed deeply. I'm truly sorry, Boss Kane. They bowed a second time. I'm so very sorry. They bowed a third time. Then, Kalen looked up at Jasper, a brilliant smile on his face. Boss Kane, is that apology to your satisfaction? Jasper's face was ashen. He was so furious he couldn't even speak. You call that an apology? If I knew that's how you were going to apologize, I never would have asked. Kalen Croft. I won't forget what happened today, Jasper snarled. I hope you find your son and daughter soon. It would be a shame for a father to have to bury his own children. Kalen nodded solemnly. I will take your words to heart, Boss Kane, and you should take them as a warning as well. What if one day young Master Quentin gets kidnapped? I would hate for you to be the one burying his own son. Jasper snorted, turned on his heel, and stalked back into his estate. Exchanging another word with Kalen would be a waste of breath. Kalen watched him go, a faint smile playing on his lips. He waved to his men. Let's go home. Boss, what about the young master and young miss? Don't worry, they're fine. Hearing that, the Croft men let out a collective sigh of relief. And with that, they departed as loudly as they had arrived. Back inside, Jasper collapsed into a chair, chugging a cup of tea. After draining it, he sat there, breathing heavily, his face a thundercloud. For a moment there, I almost killed him, a voice said. Jasper slowly looked up. A man dressed in black, wearing a black mask, was standing before him. If you had killed him, things would have gotten much more complicated, the man said. I know. That's why I didn't, Jasper said in a low voice. The man nodded, sitting in a chair next to Jasper and idly flipping a dagger in his hand. It's been a while. Any news on the ghost? Jasper asked. The man paused, then slowly shook his head. They're hidden too well. I can't find them. And you're number 2 on the Assassin's Index? Not so impressive, are you? Jasper taunted. I heard you fought the ghost once, and now you can't even find them. The man sitting next to him was also on the list. Number 2 on the Hero Index, Nighthawk. Nighthawk wasn't angered by Jasper Kane's words. Instead, his voice carried a hint of melancholy. I've always wanted to face him again. He paused. The reason I came to Viridian was because I heard the leader of the Umbra here was called the Ghost. Jasper frowned, not understanding the connection. Is there a problem with that? Yes, Nighthawk said, his tone sharp as steel. Because the Ghost died years ago, during the Manhattan incident. So, he continued, I believe the current Ghost of the Umbra is an imposter. And that's why I'm here, talking to you. The words hit Jasper like a physical blow. The leader of the Umbra, an imposter? Are you certain? Jasper asked urgently. This information is critical. Think carefully before you answer. Nighthawk was silent for a long moment before speaking slowly. I fought the Ghost more than once. I know his methods better than anyone. An organization like the Umbra, it's absolutely not the kind of force he would build. Moreover, I've investigated. Since the Umbra appeared, aside from the name, the Ghost, there has been no other information about him. He hasn't even made a single move himself. So, I am 70% certain that this so-called Umbra is nothing more than an assassin's guild borrowing his name. Jasper sank into a deep, troubled silence. From the very beginning, he'd been wary of the Umbra precisely because he couldn't find the Ghost. It had kept him from acting rashly. But now, Nighthawk was telling him the Ghost was already dead, that this new one was a fake. If he's a fake, who is he really? And what's his purpose for building the Umbra? Countless questions swirled in Jasper's mind. Have you told Leland Vance any of this? Jasper asked. I have, Nighthawk confirmed. And his reaction? No reaction, Nighthawk said flatly. An old fox like him. Even if he had a reaction, do you think he'd ever let it show? Jasper nodded. True enough. Leland's message was that you're free to make a move against the Umbra to test the waters. A humorless, angry laugh escaped Jasper. Test the waters? Why didn't Leland Vance go test them himself? I'll handle this my own way, Jasper said coolly. You can go. Nighthawk rose and left the room. He didn't belong to the Meng cartel, nor was he under Leland Vance's command. He just needed the resources of these two families to help him find the ghost and kill him personally. Real or fake, that name needed to disappear for good. Jasper took a deep breath, pinching the bridge of his nose. Just then, his phone rang. He pulled it out and saw it was a call from Quentin. What is it? Dad, there's something you probably need to know. As Jasper listened to his son, his frown deepened into a scowl. The next morning, Mr. Leo Augustine slung his backpack over his shoulder and headed to school. The difference today was the small shadow trailing behind him. Willishaw. Leo had been ready to quit the teaching gig, but thoughts of the Black Dragon crew forced his hand. He had to maintain the Leo Augustine identity. He had to wait for Bianca and the others to finalize their plan to kill him. If Leo Augustine disappeared, where would they go to find their target? Along the way, as he passed a few alleyways, Leo overheard snippets of conversation from the low-level thugs hanging around. Hey, you here? The Chow Dominion and the Meng cartel almost went to war last night. I know. Something about the Mengs kidnapping the Chow boss's son. That's not the version I heard. My source says the Mengs were just doing too much dirty shit, and the Chows couldn't stand it anymore. So they declared war. How come I heard someone from the Meng family died, and the Chow boss went to pay his respects and even bowed 3 times in public? Leo's mouth twitched. The Meng cartel had that much drama last night? If he'd known, he would have stopped by to watch. Maybe even stir the pot a little more. Still, he felt a pang of disappointment. No matter which version of the story was true, it seemed the two families hadn't actually started fighting. You guys are all behind the times. I've got some new explosive intel. That voice caught Leo's attention. He instinctively slowed his pace. The voice continued. Last night wasn't just the Chows. The Umbra openly declared war on the Meng cartel, too. What? For real? What's wrong with the Mengs? Did they piss off the gods or something? The news sent the small crowd into an uproar. This was the Umbra, after all. Compared to the other 3 major powers, the Umbra was the most mysterious and the most difficult to join. Any news about them was rare and highly sought after. It took a lot of effort to dig this up, the man continued smugly. I heard that last night, someone from the Umbra bombed a police precinct under Meng control, then called the Meng cartel's heir. The guy from the Umbra not only cussed out the young master, but he also officially declared war on behalf of the Umbra. Hearing this, a faint smile played on Leo's lips. The effect he wanted had been achieved. Now he could just sit back and enjoy the show. Just as he was about to leave, another sentence stopped him dead in his tracks. And get this, I heard that the identity of the Umbra's current leader, the Ghost, has been exposed. What? The Ghost's identity is out. Who is it? Who the hell is it? The man chuckled, drawing out the suspense as he held up 2 fingers. This piece of intel costs $200 per person. Leo turned his head, his brow furrowed as he looked at the man in the alley. The Ghost has already shown himself? That shouldn't be possible. It's way too soon. But the man's next words left Leo completely stunned. After collecting his money, the man looked around cautiously and lowered his voice. This guy's identity is going to scare you to death. The leader of the Umbra, the Ghost, his real identity is the one who recently tore up Westlake City, who single-handedly beat back the Vance Dominion from New York and sent them running with their tails between their legs. The BSO's Demon King, Leo Evans. As the words echoed, the expression on Leo's face, not far away, froze solid. The half-eaten breakfast burrito in his hand dropped to the pavement. His mind reeled, the words echoing in his head. I'm the Ghost. No way. I've heard of that Leo Evans kid. He's barely old enough to shave. How could he be the Ghost? That's where you're wrong. He's calling himself the Ghost, but he's just an imposter. Isn't he afraid the real Ghost will come after him? The real Ghost died years ago in the Manhattan incident. Damn, dude, you know everything. Of course. This stuff cost me a pretty penny to find out. The guy in glasses preened. He wasn't much of a fighter, but when it came to gathering intel, he was the best in the neighborhood. Outside the alley, Willis Shaw stood with her hands in her pockets, glancing at Leo. The smile had vanished from his face, replaced by an expression of someone who'd just been forced to eat shit. "You're the Ghost?" Willa asked flatly. "The hell I am," Leo snapped, his anger so potent he was cursing himself. How did this rumor get so out of control? Could they not just stick to the facts for once? His face a thunderous mask, Leo strode into the alley. "This intel of yours, where did you get it?" The guy in glasses heard the unfamiliar voice behind him and turned, annoyed, to stare at Leo. Hey, buddy. Eavesdropping costs double. I'm asking you where the intel came from, Leo repeated, his voice dangerously low. The tone made the man's brow furrow. Pretty boy, you looking for trouble? The other guys behind him took a few hasty steps back. They were here for gossip, not a beatdown. Leo glanced at the retreating figures. You have 3 seconds to get lost. The sheer arrogance of the command was more than they could stomach. The hell? Who does this guy think he is? Pretty boy, you think we're just gonna take that? Who the fuck do you, bro? Big bro, don't shoot. Their tough talk died in their throats, replaced by pure terror. Leo had already lost his patience and pulled out a pistol, leveling it at them. 3, 2. Before he could finish the countdown, the group that had been so defiant moments ago vanished without a trace, leaving only the guy in glasses behind. He stared at the gun in Leo's hand and swallowed hard. Shit, I ran into a real one. Now, can we talk? Leo asked with a smile. Why, yes. Of course, we can, the man stammered, nodding like a bobblehead. Where did you get the information? Which piece of intel, sir? The one about Leo Evans being the ghost. The man wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead. Well, actually, I can't guarantee that one's true. Someone just paid me to spread it. The person said all I had to do was spread the rumor that Leo Evans is the ghost. I didn't have to worry about anything else. I figured it wasn't a big deal. Plus, they provided a photo of Leo at the Umbra's headquarters as proof, so I agreed. Oh, photo. Now Leo was genuinely shocked. When had he ever been to the Umbra's base? Let me see it. The man fumbled in his pocket and produced a photograph. On it, a group of people in Umbra uniforms were bowing slightly to a figure in the foreground, their posture one of deep respect. And the face of that person in the front was identical to Leo's. The man in glasses finally noticed it too. He'd been too nervous to pay attention before, but now he saw it. Why did this pretty boy in front of him look so much like the Leo Evans in the picture? Realization dawned. His eyes went wide as he pointed a trembling finger at Leo. You're Leo. Leo who? And nothing. The man hastily snatched off his glasses. I left the house without my contacts today. Can't tell a person from a post box past 5 feet. I can't see your face at all, sir. Leo looked at him with a glimmer of admiration. Smart kid. He'd go far. His gaze returned to the photo. It looked convincing enough, but Leo knew without a doubt. It was photoshopped, and this photo, along with the rumor, was almost certainly the ghost counterattack against him. So dirty. Leo clicked his tongue, shaking his head at the picture. This move not only blew his cover, but also threw him right into the crosshairs. Before long, every faction in Viridian would know he was here. But what puzzled Leo even more was how the ghost had confirmed so quickly that he was behind last night's attack. And how did he mount such a powerful counteroffensive in such a short time? Did the person who hired you give you any other instructions? No, but I'm guessing I'm not the only one he hired. Right, got it. You can scram. Leo had no intention of hurting the guy. Though he'd been recognized, it was hardly a secret anymore. They'd plastered his damn face on a poster. What was there left to hide? Hearing he could leave, the man gushed with gratitude and then bolted without a second glance. The moment he'd recognized Leo, he thought he was a dead man. He never imagined Leo would actually let him go. That doesn't really fit the Demon King's reputation. The man muttered to himself as he ran. Once he was gone, Willow walked over to Leo's side. Are we still going to school today? The hell we are, Leo muttered. He should have used a different face when he created the Leo Augustine persona. But his doppelganger skill hadn't been upgraded back then, so he'd use his real face. Besides, he figured not that many people would recognize him. Well, so much for that. After today, his face was guaranteed to be famous all over Viridian. The ghost had gone to the trouble of faking photos. He was clearly determined to make Leo infamous here. That much was obvious. The ghost, huh? You just wait. Leo seethed. He was always the one framing others. He never thought he'd be the one left holding the bag. How could he swallow this insult? How could he endure this injustice? How could he carry this blame? He and the ghost were now mortal enemies. Let's go. Back to base. Leo waved a hand, his voice thick with fury. If I don't drag this ghost out and kill him, this whole trip to Viridian will be a waste. Even Marcus Lynn will have to wait his turn to die. Willa followed him silently, a thought forming on her lips before she swallowed it. Your cover being blown is your problem. But if you're skipping class, why are you dragging me along with you? But seeing the look on Leo's face, like he was ready to bite the head off the next person who spoke, Willow wisely kept her mouth shut. Better not to get snapped at. Meanwhile, in a park near the Chow Dominion's estate, on a familiar park bench, a man and a woman sat on opposite ends. Kalen Croft looked at the fake photo of Leo in his hand and shook his head with a chuckle. That was a vicious move. He turned to the woman beside him, a gloating tone in his voice. You pull something like this, and that kid is going to absolutely lose it. The woman just smiled, completely unconcerned. He brought this on himself. I wasn't even looking for him, but he just had to pop up and cause trouble. He likes impersonating my people from the Umbra, does he? Fine. I'll just make him the leader of the Umbra. He should be satisfied now, right? Hearing this, Kalen felt a pang of sympathy for Leo. Of all the people to impersonate, he had to pick someone from the Umbra. He knew just how dangerous this woman could be. If it weren't for the fact that Leo has some connection to you, he'd probably be dead by now, wouldn't he? Kalen mused. That kid is probably plotting his revenge as we speak. I wonder if he'll still have the guts when he finds out who you really are. The woman's smile only widened. She watched the calm surface of a lake before them and spoke softly. Even without that connection, I'm not afraid of his revenge. These young hotshots, they're decent fighters, but when it comes to playing mind games, they're far too green. This whole affair is my little bit of payback, and a test for him as well. If he can't even handle this, it just proves he's nothing more than a mindless brute with a bit of muscle. And in a place like Viridian, muscle alone won't keep you alive for long. A brute? Kalen secretly shook his head at the word. He didn't think for a second that Leo was a simple brute. A brute with a brain is terrifying, to be sure. But a brute who not only has a brain, but whose thought process is completely unhinged? That's a true catastrophe. Sigh, my son and daughter are still in his hands. Kalen sighed. The thought alone gave him a headache. What had he ever done to deserve this? Relax. Your children won't die, the woman said flatly. Killing them now would do Leo more harm than good. Kalen nodded glumly. I know, but what if? That little bastard's methods are just like that monster Anthony Reed's. Maybe even worse. The mere mention of the name reignited Kalen's anger. He slapped his thigh and launched into a tirade. Anthony Reed is a real piece of work, too. I asked him to help me with a fight one time, and the son of a bitch ended up blowing up half of the Crucible. And blowing up the island is one thing, but he blew up my men along with it. He's lucky he hasn't dared to show his face in front of me these past few years, or I'd have put a bullet in him myself. Clearly, Kalen was still bitter about what had happened back then. It was understandable. Anthony Reed had left him with considerable trauma. You call a guy for backup, and he ends up beating up your side too? Who wouldn't be furious? You should be grateful, the woman said dismissively. If it weren't for that explosion, your Chow Dominion would have been wiped out by Jasper Kane long ago. Her words shut Kalen up. He couldn't argue, because it was the truth. Back when the Chow Dominion and the Meng Cartel were fighting in the Crucible, Kalen knew he was outmatched, so he called in Anthony Reed as reinforcements. It was fair to say that without Anthony's cataclysmic explosion, the Meng Cartel would have annihilated the Chow Dominion. Even so, despite turning the tide, the Chows hadn't managed to finish off the Mengs. Such a shame. If Leland Vance hadn't interfered back then, the grass on Jasper Kane's grave would be 6 feet tall by now, Kalen lamented. Leland Vance risked being targeted by all the major families just to save Jasper. He must have had his eyes on Viridian even back then, the woman said coolly. Speaking of which, what price did Leland actually pay for the New York families to let him off the hook? Kalen asked, frowning. The Crucible was established by all the families together. Leland Vance broke the rules. How could they let him go so easily? The woman was silent for a moment before she finally spoke 3 words. Gene serum. Hearing this, Kalen's pupils contracted. His voice rose in pitch. You're saying Leland Vance gave away the formula for the gene serum his family developed? Is he insane? He was willing to give that up for Jasper Kane. Kalen's tone was filled with disbelief, but also solved a long-standing mystery. The major families in New York all used gene serum to train their assassins. He had originally assumed they'd all gotten their hands on the formula during the Manhattan incident, but now it seemed only the Vance Dominion had possessed it. The formulas used by the other families must have been passed on from them. Do you really think a man like Leland Vance makes deals where he loses? The woman asked with a mocking smile. It just means that in his eyes, Jasper Kane, or rather, the Meng Cartel, is more important than the gene serum formula. Kalen clicked his tongue. He certainly didn't see how Jasper was worth that much. By the way, you should be careful for a while. A lot of people are digging for information on you, Kalen said, his expression turning serious. Viridian is a melting pot right now. Every kind of monster and demon has crawled out of the woodwork. At the very least, quite a few people now know that you, the ghost, are an imposter. Imposter? The word made the woman laugh out loud. She looked at him meaningfully. Kalen, do even you think that I, the ghost of the Umbra, am an imposter? Kalen frowned. Aren't you? In Viridian, He was the one who knew her identity best. And because of that, he knew the woman before him absolutely could not be the ghost. Because the real ghost was long dead. Kaylin, in your eyes, what is the ghost? Is that even a question? The number one assassin on the index, of course. And that's it. Is there more? The woman smiled faintly. Of course there is. The ghost could be a dead man, and a man can be a living ghost. She stood up, her gaze fixed calmly on the horizon. The ghost who was number one on the assassin's index is dead. The one who lives now is the ghost of the Umbra. Kaylin frowned, mulling over her words, trying to grasp their meaning. After a long moment, he spoke. So you're saying you've replaced the old ghost and become the new one? No. The woman shook her head and turned, her eyes burning into his. I have never replaced or impersonated the ghost. I am the ghost. Back at the BSO base. The team stared at the photo Leo brought back, a collective headache brewing. I told you last night not to do it that way. Now, look what's happened. Kane began, pointing a finger at Leo. You didn't manage to sling any mud, and you ended up wearing the whole bucket yourself. Leo wasn't about to take that. Easy for you to play Monday morning quarterback now. You were there too. I didn't see you raising any objections. See? I told you, let Leo handle it, and something's bound to go wrong. Alex Young chimed in coolly. Hey, that's a pretty irresponsible thing to say, Leo shot back. If we're really pointing fingers, if Dylan hadn't asked me to rescue those people in the first place, none of this would have happened. Dylan Miller looked incredulous. How the hell is this my fault? He exclaimed. I asked you to rescue people. I didn't ask you to do all that other shit. Everything I did was for the good of our plan, wasn't it? Leo argued. Then tell us, Ava Reed interjected suddenly. What exactly is our plan? Leo fell into a deep, profound silence as everyone stared at him. Smack, smack, smack. Leo slapped the table 3 times, his expression dead serious. None of that matters now. The priority is figuring out how to deal with the current situation. And besides, putting the facts aside, are none of you at fault? Especially you, Willa. Leo suddenly pointed at Willa Shaw. If you hadn't pissed off Quinn and Kane, would your uncle have gotten captured? If your uncle hadn't been captured, none of this would have happened. Willa didn't indulge him with a response. She simply replied with a simple, crude, and universally understood gesture. She silently raised her middle finger at him. Alex shook his head, lamenting Leo's deteriorating humanity. Passing the buck had now devolved to blaming a child. He'd already lost his integrity. Now his basic decency was starting to erode. Leo, it's not too late to turn back from the abyss, Alex said, clapping a hand on Leo's shoulder with grave solemnity. Leo shrugged his hand off, ignoring him completely. Off to the side, Silas was slurping a bowl of freshly cooked noodles, silently observing the scene. He couldn't comprehend how a team this dysfunctional had managed to stick together for so long. Did they just survive by constantly shifting blame? All right, that's enough, Ava said, taking a deep breath. Let's just focus on what to do next. At her words, the blame game paused for a moment. Alex sat down on the sofa. Honestly, I don't think this is a huge problem. Yes, Leo's identity is out, but he has the doppelganger ability, so the impact is limited. In fact, this might not even be a bad thing for us. He paused, then continued. To outsiders, Leo Evans is now the leader of the Umbra. That means Leo's every move represents the Umbra's intentions. So we can play along. Let Leo make the role of the ghost his own. Who are you calling a fake? Leo grumbled. Have some damn respect. Alex was speechless. He gave Leo an exasperated look. It was just a figure of speech. Meanwhile, Ava quickly caught on to Alex's train of thought. Since its founding, many people have admired the ghost's reputation and wanted to join the Umbra. But their recruitment standards are incredibly strict. Not just anyone can get in. But now, with this situation, we can have Leo use the Umbra's name to recruit a batch of followers. The others nodded in agreement. This would throw the problem right back at the real ghost. You said I'm the leader, so I'm just going to use your name to recruit some people. Nothing wrong with that, right? If you don't agree, you'll have to publicly clarify that I'm not the ghost. Otherwise, you'll just have to watch as I use your reputation to build my own power. Alex looked over some files. That's a good plan. There are a lot of independent operators in Viridian right now. Consolidating them would create a significant force. As for whether they could control such a force, they weren't too worried. After all, the person leading them would be Leo. For this to work, Leo, as the leader, can't show his face too often. We'll need a representative to go out and persuade these unaffiliated groups, Ava said, her eyes scanning the room, assessing who would be best for the job. Marco was out. He absolutely couldn't be seen in public right now. Not while Leo was still using his identity with the Black Dragon crew. I'll do it, Dylan suddenly volunteered with a smile. Viridian is my hometown. After all, I'm the best choice for this. All eyes turned to him. Willa couldn't help but look up as well. Dylan, this isn't a joke, Leo warned. Those freelancers are no saints. It's fine. With your name backing me up, they won't dare to touch me, Dylan said, unconcerned. Ava frowned, thinking for a moment. In that case, have Kane go with you. It'll be safer. Kane heard this and smiled confidently. Don't worry, just a bunch of street thugs. He was on fire this season, full of drive and power. Nearby, Silas continued to slurp his noodles, acting as if none of this concerned him. Though he had surrendered, his current mission was to memorize photos and eat noodles. Clearly, the team hadn't fully lowered their guard around him. He was still a ranked assassin, after all. A little caution was always necessary. Silas was more than happy with this arrangement. Slacking off was slacking off, no matter where you did it. Here, he got free room and board and didn't have to take on dangerous missions. Plus, everyone was a character, and they were fun to listen to. He had zero desire to resist. He'd do whatever they told him. What about an assassin's pride? How much was that worth? A few days of starvation in a cell would cure any one of that. Just then, Leo's phone rang. He pulled it out, and his brow furrowed. It's Bianca. He answered the call, his voice naturally shifting into Marco's gravelly tone. Leader Bianca, what's up? Marco, can you still get in touch with Leo Evans? Leo paused for a moment before replying. I can. Bianca let out a quiet sigh of relief. After hearing the news that Leo's identity had been exposed, she'd been worried he would vanish without a trace. It seemed he hadn't bolted just yet. Therefore, they couldn't delay their plan any longer. Marco, come to the Black Dragon crew's headquarters. We need to discuss how we're going to deal with Leo Evans. Hearing this, a smirk touched Leo's lips, finally taking the bait. 2.5 hours later, Leo, disguised as Marco, arrived alone at the Black Dragon crew's headquarters. The guards at the gate had clearly learned their lesson. Seeing it was Marco, they didn't block his path. Instead, they offered a slight bow. Welcome, Mr. Marco. With a cold expression, Leo gave a slight nod, casting an appreciative glance at the guard. This kid's got a bright future. A quick look at the guard's computer screen, however, made his brow furrow again. Playing video games on the job, are we? And he's still stuck on male Nia. Pathetic. No wonder he's a gate guard. Shaking his head, Leo strode confidently towards Bianca's office, as if he owned the place. Knock, knock, knock. Enter. Inside, Bianca looked up. Seeing it was Marco, she quickly stood. You're finally here. Were you followed? Relax, Leader Bianca. When I do something, I do it right, Leo said, seating himself on the sofa without being asked. He glanced around the room and casually asked, weren't we supposed to be planning our move against Leo Evans? Where's Leader Lin? Bianca poured Leo a cup of tea. Leader Lin had some urgent business to attend to, so I'll be taking the lead on this operation. Marcus isn't involved? Leo's brow twitched. That didn't seem right. That guy hated his guts. How could he possibly pass up an opportunity like this? Or was there something even more important than killing him? With that thought, Leo nonchalantly pressed, something this important, and your leader Lin isn't even participating? Bianca's expression soured slightly. Did she really have to explain this to him? But then, remembering she needed Marco's help for the plan, she patiently elaborated. A lot has happened in the last 2 days. I'm sure you've heard the rumors. The Chow Dominion and the Meng cartel suddenly clashed, and all sorts of stories about the Umbra's ghost are flying around. As one of the 4 major powers, the Black Dragon crew naturally has to make its own moves. Leo nodded slightly. Then, with a flicker in his eyes, he leaned in conspiratorially. Leader Bianca, since it's just us here, can I ask you something? If it doesn't involve classified information, I can answer. The supreme leader of our Black Dragon crew is Leader Lin, correct? That's right. Even I report to him. Bianca confirmed, a hint of confusion in her voice. Why do you ask? Leo stared intently at Bianca, enunciating each word carefully. What I want to know is, above Leader Lin, is there anyone else in our organization? Bianca's gaze sharpened, her voice turning cold. What are you implying? Leader Bianca, don't get upset. I'm just curious, Leo said quickly, holding up his hands with a placating smile. After all, I heard Leader Lin only arrived in Viridian a short while ago. Yet he built the Black Dragon crew into a force that rivals the Chow Dominion and the Meng cartel. To achieve something like that in such a short time, anyone would suspect he has someone backing him, right? As he spoke, Leo was secretly observing Bianca's face. For a split second, her expression had shifted almost imperceptibly. It was brief, but Leo's keen senses caught the detail. That tiny change was enough to make him 80% certain. There was someone else behind the Black Dragon crew. Bianca stared at Leo, her face an icy mask. Marco, the Black Dragon crew, was built from the ground up by Leader Lin and him alone. There is no one else. Her tone was deadly serious. You just need to remember that. As for anything else, don't ask questions you shouldn't be asking. Everyone has a curious side, but if you can't control it, it can get you killed. The veiled threat hung in the air, freezing the atmosphere in the room. After a long moment, Leo broke the tension with a light laugh. You're right, Leader Bianca. I was too curious. My mistake. Let's get back to business. He sat up straight. So, how do you plan to deal with Leo Evans? First, you need to tell me how confident you are that you can lure him out. If we act today, I'm 80% sure. Any later, and I can't say. Leo leaned back against the sofa, crossing his legs. You know, the only reason I have a connection to him is because of the Leo Augustine identity. Now that his real identity is exposed, he probably won't use that cover anymore. So today is the last chance. If I try to contact him after today, the risk will be much higher. Bianca nodded in understanding. This was why she had contacted Marco the moment she got the news. On one hand, she was afraid Leo would run. On the other, she was worried that with time, Leo would become suspicious of Marco. Tonight, at 8 o'clock, there's an abandoned building on the south side. Lure him there. Bianca took out her phone and sent Leo a location pin. Our people will be in position beforehand. Once you bring him to the designated spot, we'll make our move. Don't worry, we'll ensure your safety. We won't let him lay a finger on you. Leo glanced at the location on his phone and nodded. How many people are you bringing? Enough to kill Leo Evans, Bianca answered evasively. Leo sneered internally. Enough to kill me? What arrogance. The Phone Alliance said the same thing to my face once. Now, their graves have probably grown into a small forest. The Black Dragon crew? Please, a bunch of nobodies. In that case, I'll go contact him now, Leo said, standing up. He looked at Bianca with a grave expression, his voice low and serious. Everything for the Black Dragon crew. Then he turned and strode out, leaving Bianca with the image of his cool, determined back. The moment he turned, Leo thought to himself, eat shit, Black Dragon crew. If I don't make you all cry tonight, my last name isn't Evans. With that thought burning in his mind, Leo walked out of the headquarters. He glanced over and saw the guard was still playing his game, still stuck on the same boss. Looked like the Black Dragon crew would be wiped out before this guy ever beat that level. Pathetic. Shaking his head, Leo left. He didn't head back to the base. Instead, he ducked into an alley. When he emerged, he had a completely different, forgettable face. He'd also changed into a set of lightweight black clothes. After stretching his limbs, he began walking unsteadily in a new direction. At the end of that path was the headquarters of the Chow Dominion. Author's note, I owe you one, moi. Dressed in black, his face changed to that of a common stranger. Leo walked all the way to the vicinity of the Chow Dominion estate. Halt! Before he could take another step, a guard from the Chow family quickly intercepted him. Who are you? Who are you here to see? Leo looked up, his voice flat. I'm here to see your boss. Our boss doesn't see just anyone. You should. I have news about your young master and young miss. Why you what? The guard's expression changed instantly. Are you telling the truth? Leo nodded. But I'll only discuss this news with your boss. The guard frowned, a flicker of conflict on his face, but he quickly made a decision. Wait here a moment. He picked up the landline and made a call to Kalen Croft. News about Corbin and Reyna. Hearing the guard's report, Kalen was puzzled. Weren't Corbin and Reyna in Leo's hands right now? The man at the gate. What does he look like? Kalen asked. A very average face. Nothing distinctive about him. Not a pretty boy? Definitely not. Then it's not Leo, Kalen thought. By now, plenty of people in their circles knew that Leo Evans had the face of a famously handsome pretty boy. After a moment of consideration, Kalen said, Let him in. Yes, sir. Following the boss's orders, the guard stepped aside for Leo. The boss is waiting for you in the reception hall. Where's that? Go in, turn left, and walk straight. Okay, thanks. Surprisingly polite. Leo's expression remained impassive as he walked, feeling the eyes of numerous Chow family members on him. When he reached the reception hall, he raised a hand and knocked softly. Knock, knock, knock. Enter. Kalen's deep voice came from within. Leo took a slow breath, his face growing more serious. Every time he had to face one of these old foxes, he felt a certain pressure. Creak. Leo pushed the door open. There was only one person in the room, standing silently before a large scroll painting. Kalen Croft stood with his back to Leo. After a long moment, he spoke first. Did Leo Evans send you? That simple sentence made Leo's pupils contract. He swallowed hard. Damn it, I want to leave. With his very first words, Kalen had identified him as one of Leo's men. This statement made it clear. He already knew Corbin and Reyna were with Leo. Why is every single one of these old bastards so hard to deal with? Leo complained internally. If only all the family heads were on Victor Feng's level. Man, I miss the phone alliance. I miss the days when things weren't so complicated. I miss being a model student and an outstanding citizen. Wait, he still was. After a moment of wistful reflection, Leo spoke, his tone even. Mr. Croft, I don't know what you're talking about. When facing old foxes, the first rule was to never admit anything. You don't know? Kalen chuckled softly and turned around, finally seeing Leo's face. It is indeed a very ordinary face. Assuming he's not wearing a mask. What's your name? Kalen asked with a smile. Mr. Croft, perhaps we could get down to business first. Leo stared intently at him. Don't you want to know the whereabouts of your children? Haha, I'm in no hurry. Kalen leisurely sat down on the sofa and asked the same question again. What's your name? On the streets, they call me Rico, Leo said, inventing a name on the spot. Rico. Kalen murmured the name, nodding slightly. Well then, Mr. Rico, what did you wish to discuss with me? The whereabouts of your children. Do you want to know? No. Leo was at a loss for words. This wasn't how he'd imagined this going. Weren't you supposed to be frantically searching the world for your son? Are they? Not yours. Leo couldn't help but ask. No, they're mine, Kalen said nonchalantly. But I'm confident they're fine, right? As he said this, his eyes were fixed on Leo. The feeling was deeply unsettling, the same kind of pressure he felt when facing Director Jensen. Taking a deep breath, Leo cut straight to the chase. Tonight at 8, we're going to ambush and eliminate members of the Black Dragon crew. We need manpower from the Chow Dominion. And why should I lend you my men? Because if the Black Dragon crew falls, it benefits your family. Besides, Leo added after a pause, don't you want to know who's really pulling the strings behind them? Kalen shook his head slightly. That's not enough. The conflict between my Chow Dominion and the Meng cartel is already public knowledge. If we move against the Black Dragon crew as well, my family's position will become precarious. The price you're offering isn't nearly enough for us to make a move. Hearing this, Leo fell silent for a moment before speaking again. If the Chow Dominion acts tonight, Corbin and Reyna will be returned safely to you tomorrow. With those words, he was undeniably confirming that the siblings were in his hands. To prove it, Leo pulled a photo from his pocket and handed it to Kalen. It showed the two of them bound. As he did so, Leo was secretly on high alert. If Kalen made a sudden move, he needed to be ready to escape instantly. However, Kalen merely glanced at the photo before placing it on the table, not looking at it again. Still not enough, he said flatly. And besides, I have no guarantee that you'll keep your promise. Leo frowned. I, Rico, can swear on my... Please, Kalen cut him off. Swearing on a fake name is meaningless. If there's nothing else, you can leave. From the very beginning, he had never believed the name Rico. Leo's eyes flickered. He hadn't expected Kalen to be so difficult. His original plan was now almost completely in tatters. Kalen wouldn't be swayed by threats or promises. Leo stood there for a moment, thinking before making a decision. In that case, Mr. Croft, I'll take my leave. Kalen nodded, remaining on the sofa as he watched Leo leave the room. A few minutes later, Kalen let out a soft sigh and was about to stand up. A voice suddenly broke the silence of the room. Mr. Croft, I think now we can have a real conversation. Hearing the voice behind him, Kalen froze and slowly turned around. Leo was standing right behind him, his expression calm. His face was no longer that of a stranger, but his own, the distinctive, handsome face of Leo Evans. He was done hiding his identity. Kalen Croft stared at the young man before him, his eyes wide with astonishment. But as he took in Leo's familiar appearance, understanding dawned. A skin mask? You could call it that. Kalen nodded slightly. But this doesn't change anything. I'm not going to take that risk just because you're Leo Evans. I know, Leo said calmly. That's why I'm here to propose a different deal. Oh, Kalen's eyebrow rose, his interest peaked. I'm listening. Leo took a deep breath and spoke, enunciating every word. I want to partner with you. Partner? Kalen laughed. Like the Reeds and the BSO? No. Leo shook his head. He pointed a finger at himself. Me? And he pointed at Kalen. With you. No other parties involved. No organizations. Just Leo Evans and Kalen Croft. A partnership. At these words, Kalen's expression became intensely serious. He studied Leo, truly seeing the young man before him for the first time. "Tell me your reason for doing this," Kalen asked gravely. "Because I'm tired of all the eyes watching," Leo said, a rare seriousness on his face. "Ever since I came to Viridian, I've felt that something was off. It was only recently that I began to understand. Maybe it wasn't Director Jensen who sent me to Viridian. Maybe it was that man, Sterling. The four major powers, the masterminds hiding in the shadows, even the BSO. Your goals are all the same, aren't they?" Leo locked his eyes with Kalen's. "You all want to take complete control of this gray zone, Viridian City." Hearing this, Kalen's pupil shrank. The calm, detached demeanor he'd maintained was gone. "Who told you all this?" Leo's face remained placid. He didn't answer the question. His analysis was partly based on the clues he'd pieced together in Viridian. But the other part came from a single sentence Julian Reed had secretly told him before he left. "Be careful of the BSO, and be even more careful of Sterling." Leo had kept those words buried deep inside, telling no one. It was only now, facing Kalen Croft, that he felt he could no longer afford to be passive. What happened to Viridian? Who ended up controlling it? None of that was his business. But Leo hated the feeling of being a piece on someone else's chessboard. "You all want to watch from the shadows? You all want to control Viridian? Fine. Ruining your plans will be my revenge." "Mr. Croft," Leo said, his voice hard as stone, "I am going to take control of Viridian." Ping. Host has triggered an Apex tier mission. The last dawn of Viridian. Mission content. Become the last hope for Viridian. Due to the extreme difficulty of this mission, the host may choose whether to accept it. Mission completion reward. Host will acquire all low-tier system skills and one Apex-tier skill. Accept, Leo commanded in his mind without a moment's hesitation. This was the second Apex-tier mission he had encountered. The first was the Ethelberg conflict. This one was called the Last Dawn of Viridian. The reward was unprecedentedly generous. All low-tier skills and an Apex-tier skill. But that also meant the mission's difficulty would be off the charts. "You want to control Viridian?" Kalen frowned at Leo's declaration. "Do you have any idea what you're saying?" "Of course I do. And you still come to me for a partnership?" Kalen scoffed. "If what you say is true, then my Chow Dominion also wants to control Viridian. Why would I cooperate with someone who has the same goal?" "Because our goals don't conflict," Leo said softly. "It's just like your alliance with the Umbra. Even though your ultimate aims are the same, you work together in the meantime to ensure you both survive long enough to fight for the final prize, don't you? So, until that final moment arrives, factions like yours can cooperate at any time to kick the lone players out of the game first." Kalen's eyes widened in surprise. He hadn't expected Leo to so casually expose his alliance with the Umbra. He thought back to what the woman had said that morning and gave a wry, humorless laugh. A brute? No brains? What a joke. He looked at the young man before him, all his previous disdain gone. Leo's age and his reckless style had completely fooled everyone, branding him a simple-minded thug. If not for this face-to-face confrontation, Kalen himself might have paid a heavy price for underestimating him. "I admit, I underestimated you, Leo," Kalen said seriously. "But I can't agree to a partnership based on a few words. Alliances are built on a foundation of mutual strength. And as I see it, you don't yet have the strength to partner with me." Leo just smiled. "In that case, how about we make a bet?" "Bet on what?" "After tonight, the Black Dragon crew will cease to exist." "Impossible," Kalen retorted without a second thought. "Even if you kill every man they send to ambush you tonight, the most you can do is cripple them. To completely wipe out the Black Dragon crew is absolutely impossible." "It's precisely because you think it's impossible that I'm making this bet," Leo said with a grin. "So do we have a deal?" Kalen looked at the unwavering confidence on Leo's face and found himself hesitating. Logically, he didn't believe for a second that Leo could annihilate the Black Dragon crew, an organization that large couldn't just be erased overnight. But seeing that self-assured smile, Kalen faltered. Could he actually do it? After a moment's hesitation, Kalen gritted his teeth. "You're on." He simply couldn't believe Leo could be that formidable. "If you win, the Chow Dominion will partner with you. But if you lose—" "If I lose," Leo interrupted, "there's only one possible reason, and that is that I'm dead." Kalen gave Leo a long, deep look and nodded slowly. "Well then, Mr. Croft, I'll let you wait for the news tonight," Leo said with a meaningful smile. He then walked past Kalen and out of the estate. Author's note: I need to reorganize the plot for the Viridian arc, so only 2 chapters today. I'll make up for the missed chapter as soon as I can. Phew, these old foxes are more trouble than the last, Leo muttered, letting out a long breath after leaving the Chow Dominion. He glanced back at the main gate and shook his head with a smile. A partnership? What a load of crap. He'd kidnapped the man's children. How could Kalen possibly cooperate with him in good faith? There was always a risk of being stabbed in the back. The only people Leo trusted without reservation could be counted on one hand. As for everyone else, let's just say that if the day ever came when Leo truly partnered with someone he wasn't close to, it could only mean one thing. He was planning to be the one doing the backstabbing. Everything he did today was to plant a seed of doubt in Kalen Croft's mind. At the same time, it was a message to all the hidden players watching from the shadows. He was pissed off, and if he was pissed off, then nobody got to be happy. And if nobody else was happy, then Leo was happy. Tonight, I'm going to give you all a big surprise, Leo whispered to himself before heading back towards the base. He needed to discuss the night's plan with Ava and the others. Not long after Leo left, back in Kalen's room. 7. What did you make of all that? Kalen asked, speaking to the empty room. As soon as he spoke, a man with a terrifying scar across his face materialized behind him. I can't offer advice on such matters. That is for you to decide, sir, the man 7 said flatly. Kalen chuckled softly. Then what's your take on Leo Evans as a person? I can't read him, but he is stronger than me, 7 replied, his expression hardening. When he appeared behind you just now, even I failed to detect him. If he had decided to attack you, I'm not certain I could have stopped him. And it's possible he was aware of my presence the entire time and simply chose not to say anything. Kalen's brow furrowed. 7 had been with him for many years. He was his personal bodyguard. He knew 7's capabilities better than anyone. To hear such an assessment of Leo was startling, but not entirely surprising. After all, he's the kid who turned Westlake City upside down, Kalen mused. He paused, then asked, do you think he can really destroy the Black Dragon crew? 7 was silent for a moment. We'll know after tonight, won't we? True. Kalen nodded, a glint of anticipation in his eyes. Then let's see just what kind of man Anthony Reed's future son-in-law is made of. 2.5 hours later, at the BSO base, Leo recounted the day's events to Ava and the others, leaving out nothing, including his conversation with Kalen Croft. Are you insane? Kane couldn't help but exclaim. Wipe out the Black Dragon crew tonight. What do you think we are, an army? Calm down, calm down. Let me finish, Leo said, holding up his hands to quiet them down. His expression turned serious. What I'm about to tell you is no joke. Everyone here is someone I trust, so I'm going to lay it all out right now. Seeing his uncharacteristically grave demeanor, everyone frowned. This was a side of Leo they had never seen before. Leo's gaze swept over them. He slowly raised one finger, and his first words sent a shockwave through the room. First, I'm leaving the BSO. What? Alex Young stared at him, his eyes sharp. What do you mean by that? Leo met his gaze calmly. Exactly what it sounds like. From this moment on, I am drawing a line between myself and the Bureau of Syndicate Oversight. Why? Because I don't trust them. But Director Jen, I don't trust Jensen either. Leo cut Alex off flatly. Let me repeat myself. I don't trust many people. The few of you in this room are on that list, which is why I'm being direct. I'm going to take control of Iridian. I wasn't joking. I'm serious. So, from now on, I will not be operating under the BSO's name. All of our actions will be under the banner of a single entity, my own. Do you understand? Kane nodded slowly. He got it. Leo wanted to create his own faction. Just as he'd said, he didn't trust any other organization, not even the BSO. Therefore, he had to build an organization he could trust, and he had to be the one at the very top. Now, you can all make your choice, Leo said, his gaze calm. Are you with me, or are you staying with the BSO? He looked first at Ava. She rolled her eyes and snorted. After all that, what other choice do I have? She took out her BSO commander's badge, casually placed it on the table, and walked over to stand by Leo's side. Without a moment's hesitation, Ava Reed had chosen him. Kane saw this and sighed. Our young miss has already run off with you. What choice do we have? He likewise took out his BSO badge and tossed it aside. Wherever you go, Mr. Evans, I'll follow. Marco did the same, placing his badge on the table. Dylan Miller blinked, then grinned. Leo, I may not be part of the BSO, but if it's your crew, you have my support. He and Willa walked over to stand with Leo. In an instant, the room was split into two groups. Leo and Alex stood facing each other. Zara Collins sat at her computer, adjusting her glasses, waiting for Alex to make his decision. She was with him. Wherever he went, she would go. Silas, still slurping his noodles, was caught in the middle, completely bewildered. What in the world was going on? He looked at Alex on his left, then at Leo on his right. He quickly made up his mind. Carrying his bowl of noodles, he walked over to stand behind Leo's group. He didn't know Alex, but he knew for a fact that Leo was a ruthless man. Following a ruthless man was always a safe bet. Alex, what's your choice? Leo's gaze burned into him. A flicker of conflict crossed Alex's face. He didn't want to betray Director Jensen. Finally, he sighed. I'm sorry, Leo, Alex, Director Jensen resigned from the BSO. Did you know that? Just as Alex was about to refuse, Zara Collins spoke up from the side. Her words stopped him cold. The refusal died on his lips, and he stood there, frozen. You're saying the director resigned? Alex's eyes were filled with disbelief. He turned quickly to Zara. When did this happen? A while ago. The director submitted his resignation through the BSO's internal system. It's already been approved. I imagine. You probably can't contact him anymore. Hearing this, Alex immediately pulled out his phone and dialed Jensen's number. No answer. How could this be? Alex's brow furrowed. He didn't understand why the director would leave the BSO like this. What about their dream? Leo saw his chance and seized it with a smile. Alex, why don't you stick with me for now? Once you find Jensen, you can make your decision then. No rush. Alex looked over at Leo. After a long moment of hesitation, he sighed and gave a slight nod in agreement. Whatever happened, he had to find Jensen and demand an explanation. Seeing Alex agree, Leo smiled. Got him. Without Alex, he wasn't sure he could have persuaded all the other BSO members. With Alex on board, it would be much easier. As for letting Alex choose later, not a chance. Once he were on Leo's pirate ship, there was no getting off. His ship never docked. With Alex having made his choice, Zara Collins naturally followed, joining Leo's new faction. Excellent. That settles our first order of business, Leo said, a mysterious smile spreading across his face as he slowly raised his second finger. Now for the second item on the agenda, tonight's operation. An hour later, after hearing Leo's plan, everyone was stunned. Ava covered her face. She knew Leo could be ruthless, but she never imagined he could be this ruthless. The others stared at him in awe. That is the most shameless thing I have ever heard, Kane said, shaking his head. How can one person be such a shameless rat? Leo's plan had once again redefined his understanding of how low a person could sink. What's that supposed to mean? Leo admonished with a frown. Everything I'm doing is for the greater good. You just want to be a rat, everyone thought in unison. Are we really going to do this? Alex asked, clearly reluctant. If they went through with this, they would become truly infamous. Leo's response was a firm, heavy nod. Tonight, we gather all our people. We're going to make a big score. His eyes gleamed with excitement. But isn't it too risky? Ava suddenly asked. With just our own manpower and strength, the margin for error is too low. If one thing goes wrong, we'll lose the initiative. Leo just chuckled. Don't worry. I'll call for backup. They'll be here tonight. Backup. Ava was confused. Leo pulled out his phone and dialed number. Yo, where are you? Leo asked. Faintly, Ava could hear a familiar voice on the other end. What's the rush? I'm on my way. You're sure you can make it tonight? I can make it, but you're really planning to stir up trouble tonight? Ha. Tonight, I'm going to show you a real good time. I only brought a third of my guys with me. Damn it. Don't you dare get them all wiped out. Relax. I'm not that kind of person. See you tonight. With that, Leo hung up. He waved his phone at the group and smiled. Now, we should have just about enough people. The room fell silent. After a moment, Alex was the first to speak, his voice muffled. Kane and I will go gather our personnel. He then dragged Kane out of the room. Watching them leave, Ava suddenly had a thought. She turned excitedly to Leo. Right. Since we're a new faction, we should have a new name, right? I propose we call it the Sir Reginald, MMPHH. Before Ava could finish, Leo clamped a hand over her mouth. Sir Reginald again? Did she think his new faction was a zoo? Seeing the protest in her eyes, Leo sighed. Let's not worry about the name just yet. Let's get through tonight first. MMPHH. I protest. MMPH. You're dead, Leo Evans. Seeing this, the others tactfully left the room to handle their own tasks, leaving Leo and Ava alone. After a bit of persuasion from Leo, a blushing Ava temporarily gave up on the idea of naming their new group. Time ticked by, and soon night fell over the city. In an abandoned building somewhere in Viridian, Bianca and her team from the Black Dragon crew were already in position. It was almost the appointed time of 8 o'clock, but there was still no sign of Marco or Leo. Hiding in the shadows, Bianca frowned deeply. What's going on? She had brought a third of the Black Dragon crew's forces with her tonight, determined to kill Leo in one fell swoop. But now, she hadn't seen so much as a stray cat, let alone Leo. Had something gone wrong? She couldn't help but send a message to Marco. Bianca, what's the situation? Almost instantly, Marco replied. Marco, hold on, Leader Bianca. We're almost there. Seeing the message, Bianca let out a quiet sigh of relief. As long as he could bring him, being a few minutes late didn't matter. Meanwhile, at the Chow Dominion, Kalen Croft stood on his rooftop, admiring the night view. Seven stood beside him, sipping a drink. Viridian is exceptionally quiet tonight, Kalen said with a shake of his head. I have a feeling this is the calm before the storm. Seven took a sip of his drink. Didn't you station people at the Black Dragon headquarters to report any activity immediately? I did, Kalen nodded with a smile, because I'm just so curious how Leo plans to annihilate the Black Dragon crew. Even with Bianca taking a third of their forces out, the remaining 2/3 are still formidable. Even if he plans a sneak attack on their base, if he can't take it down quickly, Bianca will just lead her forces back to support them. He'll be trapped in a pincer attack. It would be a disaster. Seven was silent for a moment. We'll just have to wait for the news. You're no fun at all, Kalen sighed, picking up a glass of his own. He had just brought it to his lips when, boom! In the distance, a flash of light bloomed, followed by the deep rumble of an explosion. Oh, has it started? Kalen glanced in the direction of the light, and his eyes widened. He sprayed his drink everywhere, his jaw hanging open as he stared in disbelief at the source of the explosion. S7. I thought that direction was the main cartel, right? I think. So, Seven was just as stunned, his mind struggling to process what was happening. Meanwhile, at the main cartel's estate, Leo stood amidst a sea of fire, a sniper rifle slung over his shoulder. Behind him stood a squad of assassins dressed in the uniform of the Umbra. Looking at the burning estate, a cunning glint flashed in Leo's eyes as he bellowed. Jasper Kane, get your ass out here. I am Leo Evans, leader of the Umbra. Tonight is the night your main cartel dies. Why? Why the main cartel? Kalen Croft stared at the distant fires, muttering to himself. He swore. He was genuinely baffled. He could not comprehend Leo's actions. The kid had come to him in broad daylight to make a bet, swearing up and down that he was going to destroy the Black Dragon crew. And now, not only had he lied, he'd stood up the Black Dragons completely. He'd gone to attack the main cartel instead. Is he insane? Kalen managed to choke out, his finger trembling as he pointed at the chaos. Seven slowly nodded in agreement. Even Anthony Reed, in his wildest days, had never pulled a stunt this crazy. But the most bewildered person in the entire city at that moment could only be one man. Jasper Kane. Leo Evans, you son of a bitch. Inside the Meng estate, Jasper roared, his eyes bloodshot with fury, all decorum forgotten. Ahead, his men were locked in a desperate battle with Leo's forces. Jasper was on the verge of losing his mind. Who had he provoked? His front gate was suddenly blown to bits. A group claiming to be from the Umbra stormed in, and then came Leo's voice, booming through the night. Jasper Kane, the Umbra already declared war on you. Tonight is the day your main cartel is wiped from existence. Leo's taunts echoed from afar. Hearing this, Jasper's rage boiled over. You're the leader of the Umbra, my ass. The leaders of the major families had all seen through the Umbra's attempt to frame Leo. In their eyes, there was no way Leo Evans had any connection to them. All the factions were content to watch the drama unfold from the sidelines. But none of them had anticipated that Leo would be this shameless. He was actually leaning into the role, even having his own men disguise themselves as Umbra agents to launch a blitzkrieg on the main cartel. You get framed, so you just decide to become a culprit? Boom, boom, boom. Explosions erupted one after another. Leo, a backpack full of grenades slung over his shoulder, moved like a ghost through the battlefield. Everywhere he went, a grenade was left in his wake. Further back, Kane was set up with a sniper rifle, firing shot after shot with near-perfect accuracy at this range. The men disguised as Umbra agents were the former BSO Special Operations Team, now loyal to Leo after some re-education from Kane and Alex. Back at the base, Ava and Alex watched the surveillance feeds on Czar's monitors, tracking the movements of every major faction. KSSHHHD. Ava's walkie-talkie crackled to life with Leo's voice. Ava, what's the situation? Ava's eyes were glued to the screen. No movement from the Chow Dominion. No sign of the real Umbra either. Quentin Kane is leading the rest of the Meng forces back to reinforce them. The Black Dragon crew. Suddenly, Ava's brow furrowed, her voice turning grave. Leo, Bianca from the Black Dragon crew, is leading her people towards the Meng estate, and more are mobilizing from their headquarters. Hearing this from the heart of the battle, Leo's face showed an "I knew it" expression. Got it. Over and out, he said, cutting the connection. He let out a deep sigh. That's why I always say you old bastards are all dirty. He casually tossed another grenade, and a fresh explosion rocked the compound. Leo's voice roared out once more. Jasper Kane, are you waiting for the Black Dragon crew to save you? How surprising. I never knew the main cartel and the Black Dragon crew were so close. No, wait, this is more than just close. Leo chuckled softly, then raised his voice so everyone could hear. Don't tell me. The Black Dragon crew was also Leland Vance's creation, wasn't it? Secretly controlling two major organizations, waiting for the day of the four-pact agreement to strike and catch everyone off guard. What a brilliant scheme. His words made everyone, friend and foe alike, freeze for a split second. The Black Dragon crew and the Meng cartel are working together, and they're both under Leland Vance's control? Is that for real? Leo, Evans, Jasper Kane's roar was a primal scream of hatred, as if he wanted to tear Leo apart with his bare hands. Whatever the outcome tonight, Leo's public accusation would spread like wildfire. By then, even killing Leo would be pointless. The seeds of suspicion had been sown among all the other factions. Everyone attack. You must kill Leo Evans. At this moment, Jasper wanted nothing more than Leo's death. As long as Leo was alive, he posed a colossal threat to their plans. For now, the battle was a stalemate. The main cartel had a slight numbers advantage, but Leo's constant grenade attacks quickly pushed them back into a disadvantage. Jasper clenched his fists, taking a deep breath. Just have to hold out for the Black Dragon crew's reinforcements. Once they arrived, Leo and his men would be trapped with no escape. On the Chow family rooftop, Kalen Croft's brow was deeply furrowed as he read the reports from his men. The Black Dragon crew, the main cartel. I never would have thought Leland Vance had another card up his sleeve. If it weren't for Leo stirring things up like this, we all would have been kept in the dark. Beside him, Seven nodded slowly. I suspect Leo already suspected this, which is why he chose to attack the main cartel. The question is, what will they do when the Black Dragon reinforcements arrive? Kalen's frown deepened. Just fighting the Mengs was proving difficult enough. Once the Black Dragons arrived, how could they possibly win? The young are always too impulsive, he sighed, shaking his head. Just then, another massive explosion thundered from behind them. Seven stared in the direction of the new blast, stunned. He hesitantly tapped Kalen's shoulder. What is it? Kalen asked, looking up at him in confusion. It blew up, Seven stammered, pointing. No kidding. Leo's fighting the Mengs. Of course things are blowing up, Kalen said, dismissively. What was there to be shocked about? And no, not that, Seven said urgently. The Black Dragon crew's headquarters just blew up. What? Kalen shot to his feet, staring into the distance with a look of pure astonishment. Sure enough, the latest explosion had come from the direction of the Black Dragon HQ. That area, too, was now illuminated by a raging fire. What in the world is going on? Kalen was dumbfounded. Wasn't Leo supposed to be at the Meng estate? Who the hell was blowing things up at the Black Dragon headquarters? At the Black Dragon crew's headquarters. Amidst a sea of flames, a man in a black trench coat stood at the epicenter. He, too, was surrounded by a group of people dressed in the uniform of the Umbra. No wonder that guy loves blowing things up so much. This feeling is pretty damn good. Ethan Sia looked down at the black throwing knife in his hand. It suddenly seemed a lot less cool. He stood tall in the firelight, drew himself up, and shouted, Everyone in the Black Dragon crew, listen up. I am the second in command of the Umbra, Ethan Sia. You are completely surrounded. Today is the day your Black Dragon crew dies. Right now, Bianca was leading the bulk of the Black Dragon crew's forces toward the Meng cartel estate to provide support. The moment she heard Leo Evans was attacking Jasper Kane, she knew she'd been played by that man. Marco? He was definitely in league with Leo. Everything before had been a lie. Realizing this, Bianca changed strategies immediately, taking her people to reinforce the Canes. At the same time, she notified her own headquarters to mobilize, leaving nothing to chance. Bianca, bad news. Someone's attacking our headquarters. What did you say? Bianca's eyes went wide, and she froze in place. Seeing her reaction, the man reporting the news braced himself. He claims to be the second in command of the Umbra. He's leading a large group of men in Umbra uniforms, and they're storming the compound. Our forces at HQ are thin. They can't hold them off. If we don't turn back to help, I'm afraid HQ will fall. In an instant, Bianca's mind was in chaos, caught in an impossible dilemma. How had it come to this? Reinforce the Canes, or save her own headquarters? Bianca, The man couldn't help but shout. There was no time to waste. She had to make a decision. Just then her phone buzzed. She pulled it out. A new message had arrived, containing only 3 short words. Kill Leo Evans. Seeing the message, Bianca's brow furrowed. Was she supposed to just abandon her headquarters? She hesitated for a moment, then quickly made her choice. To the Kane estate. Yes, ma'am. Since that person had sent such a message, it meant that in their eyes, killing Leo Evans was more important than saving the Black Dragon crew. Back at their base, Ava Reed, who had been monitoring every faction's movements, saw this and immediately radioed Leo. Leo, Bianca's crew isn't turning back. They're still heading for the Kane estate. The plan failed. You need to pull back now. Once Bianca gets there, you'll be trapped. At the Kane estate, Leo's expression didn't change when he heard Ava's warning. Just a little longer, he said calmly. What? Ava's eyes widened. Her brow creased. What are you waiting for? Do you have another card to play? The words had barely left her mouth when she saw something unbelievable on her screen. On the street, a mob of people suddenly surged forward, blocking Bianca's convoy. They were also wearing the uniforms of the Umbra. Who were they? Ava was completely stunned. Where did another group come from? They had already deployed every person they had. So where did these Umbra members who were stopping Bianca come from? From your tone, I take it they've made their move? Leo's voice came through the radio. If I'm not mistaken, the ones stopping Bianca right now are the real Umbra. The real Umbra? Ava and the others were shocked. Why would they help us? Because I created an opportunity for them, Leo said with a soft laugh. An opportunity to wipe out both the Black Dragon crew and the main cartel in one fell swoop. If you were the Umbra, would you pass that up? It's just a shame that old bastard Kalen Croft is too much of a coward. Otherwise, after tonight, Viridian might really have been down to just 2 powers. It seems the true leader of the Umbra is a smart one, knows who to back in a situation like this. Besides, with me out front using the identity of the Umbra's leader, they can act without consequence. If anything goes wrong, they could just throw all the blame onto me. So, the Umbra had no reason not to make a move. Hearing this, everyone's faces lit up with understanding. Had that bastard Leo really planned that far ahead? Somewhere in Viridian, a woman sat on a sofa, swirling a glass of red wine. She stared intently at the glass, whispering softly to herself. Leo Evans, I really have seriously underestimated you. But this is what makes it interesting. The woman leaned back languidly, gazing at the ceiling, a slight smile gracing her lips. I'd love to know, if you and Sterling were clash, who would be the crazier one? Things in Viridian are getting more and more exciting. Meanwhile, on the rooftop of the Chow Dominion, Kalen Croft's face with a mask of indecision. Actor watch. I didn't expect that woman to move so decisively. Kalen paced back and forth. Everything was happening too suddenly, with no warning or preparation. He wasn't like the Umbra. When the Umbra acted, they could pin the blame on Leo when it was all over. The Chow Dominion couldn't do that. Their identity was out in the open. If they failed to completely crush the main cartel and the Black Dragon crew tonight, the aftermath would be disastrous. 7. What do you think we should do? 7 took a sip of his drink. If we move now, he said calmly, we won't even get the scraps. Kalen stopped pacing and let out a deep sigh. It was true. He hadn't been decisive when it mattered, and now it was too late. I'm getting old. If this had been his younger, more ambitious self, he probably would have acted even more decisively than that woman. Oh well, what was done was done. Time to check out. He casually pulled a nearby chair over and leaned back in it. Since he wasn't going to make a move, he might as well enjoy the show. He would see who the final winner of tonight's farce would be. Of the 4 major powers, 3 were now at war, leaving only his Chow Dominion untouched. The sounds of explosions echoed from all over, but here it was peaceful and quiet, like the last bastion of tranquility in an apocalypse. The wildfire Leo had started hadn't reached him, but it was about to burn Jasper Kane to the ground. Leo Evans. Jasper gritted his teeth. He had just received news that the Black Dragon crew's reinforcements weren't coming. The main cartel was on its own. Fortunately, Quentin's men were still on their way, unhindered. Ha, Jasper Kane, today is the day your family dies. I'm going to wipe the main cartel from the face of Viridian. From now on, Viridian belongs to me, Leo Evans of the Umbra. Leo laughed maniacally, looking every bit the supervillain. Just then, a figure shot toward him with incredible speed. Nighthawk's eyes glinted. He had been waiting in the shadows for the perfect moment. Now, Leo had finally revealed an opening. He struck decisively, attacking Leo from behind. He didn't use a gun. Leo's movements were too erratic to get a clean shot. If he fired and missed, he would expose his position, so he had been waiting patiently. Until now, clutching a dagger, he swung it violently at the back of Leo's neck. From a distance, Jasper Kane held his breath, his eyes filled with anticipation. If Leo died, this would all be over. But in the next second, Nighthawk felt a sharp pain in his wrist. One of Leo's hands had somehow already clamped down on it. "The one thing I hate most," Leo said, his eyes fixed on Nighthawk with a playful glint, "is people who sneak up from behind. Finally, I've baited you out." Leo had noticed Nighthawk's presence earlier when he'd activated Gunslinger's tempo. But just like Nighthawk, Leo couldn't easily make the first move. So, the two had been observing each other from the shadows. Nighthawk was waiting for an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. Leo, on the other hand, had deliberately created an opening to lure him out. Suffice it to say, neither of them had a pure heart. "What? You?" His wrist caught in Leo's iron grip. Nighthawk's eyes filled with disbelief. He knew he'd been had. A small smile played on Leo's lips as he spoke with mock viciousness. "There are two kinds of people I hate in this world. One, people who love a good sneak attack. And two, people who don't let me pull off a good sneak attack." One-on-one, with Gunslinger's tempo active, he wasn't afraid of anyone. Back in Westlake City, he'd always been fighting multiple opponents at once. So even with the skill, it wasn't enough. But this was different. On this battlefield, no one dared interfere in their fight. This meant Leo could cut loose and focus everything he had on Nighthawk. Today, he was going to show these people what a true one-on-one champion looked like. Gripping Nighthawk's arm, Leo's first move was a righteous skill. Dirty pickpocket. Instantly, the pistol at Nighthawk's hip vanished and reappeared in Leo's hand. Nighthawk's eyes widened when he saw the gun, and a dreadful realization dawned on him. "I'm screwed, this guy was a freak." Leo's smile was sinister. He held Nighthawk with one hand, slowly raised the gun with the other, aimed it, and pulled the trigger. At the same moment, Nighthawk kicked off the ground hard, ignoring the pain to wrench his hand free. He threw himself into a desperate roll, dodging the bullet by a hair's breadth. Leo wasn't surprised. If he'd gone down that easily, the main cartel was even more pathetic than he thought. Without a moment's hesitation, Leo lunged forward, aiming a swift kick at Nighthawk's family jewels. "What the hell?" Nighthawk yelped, cursing internally. "You call my methods dirty? Your attack patterns aren't exactly clean." Panther fist punch, tornado kick of doom. Bald eagle lands on a B-52 bomber. Leo kept attacking, shouting out move names as he went. Nighthawk had lost the initiative and could only dodge pathetically. The worst part was the moves Leo was using had absolutely nothing to do with the names he was yelling. Swoosh! Leo's kick missed. A flash of delight crossed Nighthawk's face as he prepared to counterattack. But then Leo shook his pant leg, and a grenade gently dropped out, rolling to a stop at Nighthawk's feet. Holy shit! Nighthawk's eyes bulged, and a cold sweat broke out across his back. He looked up. Leo was already far away, crouched on the ground with his hands over his ears, a wicked grin on his face. He looked as punchable as a kid who sets off a firecracker and waits to watch a stranger jump. Without a second's thought, Nighthawk kicked the grenade as far away as he could and dove to the ground. Boom! The grenade exploded, filling the air with dust and debris. Cough, cough! Nighthawk staggered to his feet, covered in dirt, his eyes filled with shock. Who the hell was this Leo Evans guy? Don't tell me this kid is actually the ghost. The thought no sooner entered his mind than he shook his head, dismissing it. He had fought the ghost before. He knew the ghost's fighting style wasn't this shameless. At the very least, he wouldn't start a fight by aiming for a man's crotch. In the distance, Jasper Kane's face was as black as thunder. Damn it, Nighthawk, aren't you number 2 on the Assassin Index? Is this all you've got? You can't even handle a snot-nosed kid? If this keeps up, my family is really in danger tonight. Jasper thought, his heart sinking. Just then, a voice called out, "Dad, I'm back." In the distance, Quentin Kane was rushing toward them with a group of men. Jasper's face lit up with relief. With Quentin's reinforcements, they could turn the tables completely. However, before Quentin and his men could get close, a backpack stuffed with grenades came flying through the air from far away. Quentin looked up, confused. Huh? Why is there a backpack flying at us? Get down! Move! That bag is full of explosives! Came Nighthawk's panicked shout from the distance. Hearing this, Quentin's blood ran cold. He immediately dropped to the ground without hesitation. But before his body even hit the pavement, in the distance, a small, pale hand quietly extended, a gun barrel aimed at the backpack. The trigger was gently squeezed. Bang! A bullet flew from the muzzle and struck the bag dead on. Boom! A massive explosion lit up the night with a blinding flash. That backpack had contained all of Leo's remaining explosives. The blast instantly wiped out more than half of the reinforcements Quentin had brought. Quentin! Jasper screamed in horror, while Nighthawk scanned the area, searching for Leo. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Leo suddenly appeared in the distance, holding a megaphone. His voice boomed across the entire battlefield. Jasper Kane, you listen to me, you little punk. For today, my Umbra will let you off the hook, so you can't say we won with a sneak attack. It wouldn't be a fair victory. Tomorrow night, same time, same place. My Umbra will return to destroy your family. All Umbra on my command. Retreat. With that, Leo tossed the megaphone aside and was the first to run. The rest of his team had already begun their retreat during the chaos of the explosion. With Kane providing cover, their withdrawal went off without a hitch. Damn you! Stop them! Jasper yelled, panicking as he saw Leo about to escape. This was no different than letting a tiger back into the mountains. As for that nonsense about coming back tomorrow, Jasper dismissed it as a load of crap. The only reason they'd been hit so hard this time was because the main cartel had been caught completely off guard. If his family was fully prepared for battle, Jasper didn't believe for a second that this little bastard would actually dare to show his face again. Jasper Kane, you'd better think this through. If you really want to fight us to the death, the only one who profits is the Chow Dominion. Seeing Jasper was still trying to stop him, Leo pulled out another megaphone and shouted from a safe distance. My Umbra doesn't care, but are you really going to let that old bastard Kalen Croft walk away with the prize? I'm not afraid to tell you, Kalen Croft and I have already joined forces. If you dare to pursue us, you can just wait for your family to get blown to Kingdom Come. His words hit their mark. Jasper was stunned. That's right, that old fox Kalen Croft hasn't made a peep this whole time. Could he really have teamed up with Leo? If that's true, there's a high chance the Chow Dominion has an ambush waiting for us. Before, Jasper might not have been so paranoid. But now, he was genuinely afraid. Because Leo Evans was just too damn unpredictable. Come back. Everyone, stop the pursuit. In the end, Jasper Kane let out a deep, frustrated sigh, swallowing his pride and taking the loss. He watched helplessly as Leo and his crew escaped, leaving the Kane estate in utter ruin. Quentin, injured in the blast, was carried off by medics for treatment. Nighthawk, covered in grime, walked up to Jasper, his expression grim. We absolutely cannot let Leo Evans live, he said gravely. He's still so young. In a few years, I'm afraid, he'll become the next Ghost, or even surpass him. Jasper's face darkened, but he said nothing. After tonight, Leo's name would echo throughout all of Iridian. He had stormed the main cartel, raided the Black Dragon crew's headquarters, and with a single sentence, made Jasper Kane too afraid to give chase. Tonight, Leo Evans had stunned every major power and all the hidden players lurking in the shadows. Ethan, what's the situation on your end? After leaving the Kane estate, the first thing Leo did was contact Ethan Sia. By now, the Black Dragon crew's headquarters was a complete wreck. Ethan sat on a large rock, a cigarette dangling from his lips as he spoke into his radio. We wrapped up a while ago. That Bianca chick never came back, so there was barely anyone here. Taking them out was like slicing melons. What about you? Did you wipe out the main cartel? Wipe my ass, Leo shot back. I never thought we could actually destroy them. All these old-timers are holding their trump cards close to their chests. You didn't see Marcus Lynn or Leland Vance show their faces, did you? Ethan nodded slightly. So, should I have my guys disperse? Yeah, have them fall back, then meet me at our base. Where are you going now? Heh. A sinister laugh crackled over the radio from Leo. Of the 4 major powers, 3 have made a move tonight. We can't leave out the Chow Dominion, can we? You're going to attack the Chow Dominion now? Ethan asked, unable to believe it. No, you got it all wrong. Leo quickly denied, his tone righteous. Kalen Croft is my one and only officially certified partner, my dearest friend. How could I possibly attack him? I believe you like I believe in ghosts. With that, Ethan hung up. He knew that wherever Leo was going, especially to the Chow Dominion, it meant nothing good. Let's go. Ethan stood up, clapping his hands together. Job's done. His men rose and followed him, leaving behind a field of bodies and architectural rubble. Meanwhile, on the street where Bianca and her forces had been intercepted, the road was littered with the bodies of Black Dragon crew members. The only person left standing was Bianca. Her face was deathly pale, her body covered in blood, and her eyes were locked on the Umbra members before her. The Black Dragon crew. We'll never forgive you, she hissed. She knew she wasn't getting out of this alive. In the fight, Bianca had already understood that these people in front of her were likely the real Umbra. They were decisive, their every move lethal. Most importantly, they were silent. From the moment they appeared until now, they hadn't spoken a single word. They were here only to kill. Not like the fake, imposter Umbra led by Leo. Their mouths were never idle, either cursing or trash-talking. The difference between the real and fake Umbra was night and day. "Why are you helping Leo Evans?" Bianca asked, her voice raspy. Her answer was a silent bullet. Thwip! The bullet shot from the silenced barrel and embedded itself in her forehead. Bianca's eyes widened. She fell straight backward, life completely gone from her. The leader of the Umbra team lowered his weapon, turned, and led his people away as silently as they had arrived. It was as if they had never been there at all. At the same time, on the rooftop of the Chow Dominion. Slander. This is blatant slander. Kalen Croft was fuming. He was just sitting at home, and a world of trouble had fallen from the sky. He had just heard that Leo had announced, in front of everyone, that he had allied with the Chow Dominion. He was completely dumbfounded. Wait, I was at home, leaning back and enjoying the show. How'd I get dragged into this? And Jasper Kane is an idiot, too, backing down after just one sentence. With that little courage, he has no business being the head of the Meng cartel. He should go home and drink his milk. He'll die broke with that attitude. Kalen paced back and forth, muttering curses. And that bastard Leo Evans doesn't even bother to draft his lies, just pulls them out of thin air. How many people is he going to screw over with that mouth of his? He slings mud and frames people without a second thought. Who the hell raised such a little monster? Kalen was speechless. The worst part was, he couldn't even come out and clarify the situation. What could he say? Leo, and I haven't teamed up. He's lying to you. Who would believe that? Then Leo would just pop up and say, "Oh, right, we're not allies. Everyone, feel free to attack me. I, Leo Evans, swear on my honor that Kalen Croft will absolutely not backstab you. We really haven't teamed up." If Leo said that, who would still believe they weren't allies? Who would dare to take that gamble? It was better from the start to just assume Leo and Kalen were in it together. After all, neither of them was a good guy. 7. What do we do about this? You're the boss. Stop asking me about everything. If I had to think of everything myself, what would I need you for? 7 sighed. If you ask me, if you had just made a move earlier, none of this would have happened. Didn't you just say it was too late to act? Who knew that kid would be so devious? 7 threw his hands up, unconcerned. In this situation, we can't issue a clarification. We just have to suck it up. Just like Jasper Kane, swallow your anger. Hearing this, Kalen's face turned ashen. So, first Anthony Reed infuriated him for years, and now Anthony Reed's son-in-law was here to do the same? What? Do I owe your family something? Just then, Kalen's phone rang. Hello? What is it? Kalen snapped. He was already in a foul mood. B-boss, there's someone at the gate for you. Not seeing anyone. But what? Stop stammering and spit it out. The person here to see you. Says his name is Leo Evans. His name is... Kalen froze, his voice cutting off abruptly. Leo Evans? Didn't that little monster just retreat from the Kane estate? No, wait. That little monster dares to come see me. Are you sure it's Leo Evans? He's got a pretty boy face. That's him. Kalen gritted his teeth. Let him in. I happen to have some business with him. Hanging up the phone, Kalen cracked his knuckles. Leo Evans had better have a very good explanation for this. Otherwise, he'd see. To be honest, Kalen was actually a little afraid to touch the kid now. Author's note. I've reflected deeply. Starting tomorrow, 3 chapters a day. So it shall be tomorrow, and every night thereafter. Inside the Chow Dominion estate, Leo Evans, dressed in black, strode brazenly through the main gate. Led by the butler, he made his way step by step to the rooftop. Only Kalen Croft and 7 were there. When Leo appeared, both men turned their gazes on him simultaneously. Oomph. Kalen snorted. After dragging my name through the mud, you actually have a nerve to show your face here? What do you mean, drag your name through the mud? Leo raised an eyebrow, feigning surprise. Don Kalen, don't tell me you're thinking of backing out. Backing out of what? Our bet. Leo said with a hint of dissatisfaction. Didn't we agree that if I wiped out the Black Dragon crew tonight, you would officially partner with me? Or you try to go back on your word? His words left both Kalen and 7 stunned. They had actually forgotten about that. Mostly because everything that happened tonight had been far too chaotic. Who had the time to remember some Beth? Bianca and her people are dead, right? Leo asked, looking at Kalen. Kalen was silent. The Black Dragon crew's headquarters is gone, isn't it? Leo turned to 7. 7's mouth twitched. So, doesn't that count as wiping out the Black Dragon crew? Leo clapped his hands once, then threw them open. Hearing this, even if Kalen wanted to argue, he had no ground to stand on. It was true. The Black Dragon crew, as it was now, was as good as destroyed. With 80% of their forces lost and their headquarters burned to a ruin, the Black Dragon crew would no longer exist as a power in Viridian after tonight. Fine, Kalen nodded lightly. I can ally with you. But after tonight, you'll be a thorn in the side of every other power. Because you're too audacious. Not just audacious, but you have the strength to back it up, and you never play by the rules. In their eyes, a person like you is an extremely unstable element, someone who could disrupt their plans at any moment. Leo wasn't the least bit surprised. He already knew this. Rather than wait for the fish to slowly surface, it was better to just bait them all at once. Once the fish were hooked, Leo would hit them with an all-American net and show them what it meant to fly. On the surface, Viridian has 4 major powers, but I still don't know how many are lurking in the shadows, Leo said, looking at Kalen. Have you found out anything on your end? I have some information, but why should I tell you? Don't play games. We're partners now. First, tell me what you plan to do with that information. Isn't it obvious? Leo asked, puzzled. Same as with the main cartel. Catch them off guard and leave no one alive. Kalen's jaw tightened. This is exactly why I don't want to tell you. Do you have any idea what a mess you've made of Viridian tonight? Anyone else would be finding a place to lie low right now to avoid the heat. But you? You're actively looking for another fight? Are you a honey badger? Kalen said nothing, just stared at Leo. Leo read his expression and waved a hand. Relax, old man, I know what I'm doing. You know jack shit. After a long silence, Kalen sighed. Don't say I didn't warn you. The ones hiding are much trickier than the ones out in the open. In all these years, I've only managed to identify 2 factions. Which 2? Leo asked eagerly. One of them has been hiding on the outskirts of Viridian. Their exact strength is unknown, but they're definitely no weaker than the main cartel. That's because this faction was likely formed by a coalition of major families from New York City. Kalen had 7 bring him a pen and paper. He drew a rough map, marking the location of the faction. We don't know their name, so for now, let's just call them the NYC Coalition. They're hidden deep, operating only on the outskirts and never entering Central Viridian. They're probably waiting for an opportunity, a chance to strike from the shadows. He handed the map to Leo, adding another warning. I suggest you don't touch this group first. Their true strength is a mystery. Besides, if you make a move on them, it's the same as making an enemy of all the major families in New York. But if you insist on fighting them, I have one condition. Kalen's expression turned solemn. Your fight with them has absolutely nothing to do with me. Don't you dare drag me into it. He was terrified that Leo would use their alliance as an excuse to stir up trouble everywhere. Yeah, I got it. Leo nodded distractedly. So what's the other faction? The other one? To be honest, I've only found a few traces. To this day, I still don't know who leads them. Kalen frowned. I only know that this faction is extremely mysterious, and they all share a very strange belief. They call their organization the New Century. Kalen then turned to 7. 7 was the one who stumbled upon this group by accident, so it's best if he tells you about it. 7. The name piqued Leo's curiosity. You got 6 older brothers? 7's mouth twitched. My name is Huchi, so they call me Lao Chi. Huchi, why does that name sound familiar? Leo frowned slightly, then it clicked. He pointed at 7 excitedly. I remember now. You're on that list, right? 7 sighed. You're talking about the list. Yes, I'm on it. Hero Index, number 5 mercenary. Huchi, Leo stated, raising an eyebrow. Are you another one of those short-lived freaks who used the gene serum? A dark look crossed 7's face. That's a bit rude. Kalen stepped in to explain. Not everyone on the list has used the gene serum. The serum can enhance a person's physical abilities, but it can't change their natural talent. So, there's a very small number of people who made it onto the list without using the serum, and they're ranked quite high. For example, the number 1 assassin, the Ghost, and the man standing in front of you now, 7. Neither of them has undergone genetic modification. They've earned their spots through pure combat experience and talent. Leo's face showed a hint of surprise. That Ghost guy was that good? He was number 1 without even using the gene serum? What kind of talent was that? Was he born a natural-born killer or something? And this guy, 7, ranking 5th, was no slouch either. Leo's gaze sharpened as he sized up 7, a meaningful smile spreading across his face. I wonder if I can borrow this guy from Kalen. Back to the matter at hand, 7 said, crossing his arms. Let's talk about the New Century. I only found out about this organization by chance, he began softly. Their strength is unknown, their objective is unknown, and their leader is unknown. But one thing is certain, their intelligence network is formidable. After I discovered the new century, I tried to dig for more information. That's when I received a warning letter. As he spoke, Seven's brows knitted together, his tone turning grave. If it were just a simple warning letter, that would be one thing. But the letter wasn't just sent to me. One was sent to the Dawn as well. The contents of the letter detailed every single one of the Chow Dominion's secrets, including its members, resources, data, everything. Then, at the end of the letter, it warned us that if we continued to investigate the new century, they would release all of that confidential data to the public. So, after that, we never tried to investigate the new century again. Having said his piece, Seven stared quietly at Leo. Leo stared quietly back at him. That's it. That's all I know. Leo's mouth twitched. That was basically the same as telling him nothing. If he knew nothing, where was he supposed to go looking for a fight? Is their intel really that good? Leo was skeptical. Try it and find out, Seven said mockingly. Maybe you'll get a warning letter of your own. Leo snorted. What year was this? Still using warning letters. If he were the leader of the new century, he'd at least stuff some explosives in the envelope. Open letter, instant boom. Regarding these two factions, many people are probably aware of the NYC coalition's existence, but no one talks about it openly, Kalen said with a sigh, looking at Leo. But the new century is a different story. Very few people know they exist, and no one dares to dig too deep. That's what makes them the most feared. Originally, Viridian was in a delicate balance. The overt and covert powers all kept each other in check. But after what you did tonight, that balance is bound to be broken. Some people might not be able to sit still any longer. I know that. I have one more question, Leo said, his eyes fixed on Kalen. The leader of the Umbra, that woman. What's her real identity? At his words, Kalen's pupils constricted. You know about her? He asked grimly. That shouldn't be possible. That woman was always cautious. Not even the main cartel knew the Umbra's leader was a woman. How did Leo find out? This was just bizarre. Don't worry about how. Just tell me who she is. Kalen was silent for a long moment before answering in a low voice. That is the one piece of information I cannot give you. I can only tell you this. She will absolutely not harm you, nor will she ever stand against you. Leo's eyebrow shot up. He smiled. So you're saying she has some connection to me? Then why did she frame me? Is our connection not that deep? And if it isn't deep, why are you so certain she'll never be our enemy? Hearing this, Kalen felt a sense of dread. He had a feeling that if Leo kept analyzing this, it was going to lead to big trouble. If that woman found out that Leo had figured out her identity, because of him, he'd be in a world of hurt. Leo, stop guessing. When the time is right, you'll know who she is, Kalen couldn't help but say. Oh, Leo's eyes gleamed as he stared at Kalen, a smile playing on his lips. You're getting nervous. You're nervous, which means my line of thinking is correct, isn't it? Shit. Kalen fell silent, glaring at Leo. You're not supposed to be this smart. Damn it. If anyone ever says this kid is brainless again, I'll be the first to disagree. Connected to me, but not deeply, yet she definitely won't be my enemy. Which means she must be deeply connected to someone close to me. And that person must be very, very close to me. As the thought formed, Leo's eyes widened in sudden realization. He looked at Kalen with a delighted surprise. Kalen covered his face in despair. It was over. It was all over. The kid had definitely figured it out. Don Kalen, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, I would have never known that the leader of the Umbra is one of our own. Leo rushed forward, enthusiastically shaking Kalen's hand, his face beaming. Kalen's jaw twitched. He quickly pulled his hand back. Don't you dare say that. You discovered her identity on your own. It has nothing to do with me. Leo paused, then understood. Kalen was afraid of getting into trouble with the woman. If you have nothing else, then get the hell out of here. Kalen waved his hand dismissively, urging Leo to leave. He really couldn't stand being in the same room with this guy for another minute. Right, remember to return my son and daughter. Kalen added, of course. The young master and young miss of the Chow Dominion will be returned safe and sound tomorrow, Leo promised with a smile, but made no move to leave. What is it now? Well, you see, since we're partners now, I was thinking of borrowing some of your men tomorrow, Leo said, rubbing his hands together sheepishly. Borrow men. Kalen frowned. What for? Didn't I tell Jasper Kane? Same time, same place tomorrow. I'm going back to attack the main cartel. Get the hell out. Before Leo could finish, Kalen roared. No, I won't lend you a single man. If you want to attack the main cartel, you can do it yourself. I will not get involved, no matter what. Leo scrunched up his face, covering his ears with both hands. He glanced at Kaylin and muttered, "No need to yell. If you won't, you won't. With that kind of attitude, you'll die broke. Some partner you are. Can't even lend a few men." With that, Leo turned and walked away. Kaylin was shaking with rage. "What do you think this is? We just formed an alliance, and you're already asking me to attack the main cartel with you tomorrow? In your dreams. Do I look like an idiot?" Just then, Seven stepped forward, his voice grave. "Don, there's news. I think you need to see this." Kaylin turned and looked at the message on the phone. His eyes widened. It read, "Suspicious individual spotted at Viridian Central Station. Suspected to be Sterling, Viridian Central Station." A man with a plush scarf wrapped around his neck, carrying a suitcase, walked slowly out of the station's main entrance. The air in Viridian still smells of gunpowder. Sterling stretched, taking a deep breath. Ever since he woke up in Director Shang's office, his body had been weak, and he had been recovering slowly. It was only a few days ago that he regained enough strength to move. Ignoring Shang's advice, he had taken an overnight train to Viridian. He pulled out his phone and looked at the screen, his eyes narrowing slightly. "TSK, looks like I'm late. Missed all the good drama tonight. Attacking the Meng cartel. Raiding the Black Dragon crew. Allying with the Chow Dominion." Seems Shang was right. That little guy, Leo Evans, is not to be underestimated. I really want to meet him soon. Cough, cough. Sterling coughed a few times, looking frail. He put his phone back in his pocket, picked up his suitcase, and had only taken a few steps before he stopped. Someone was standing in his way. Cough, cough. "You got here fast," Sterling said, looking at the person before him. There was no surprise on his face, as if he had known he would be there. "It's been a long time since I've seen your obnoxious face." Sterling smiled, calmly speaking the man's name. "Leland Vance." "I'm surprised. That kid Leo Evans couldn't draw you out, but the moment I arrive, you appear. It seems that in your eyes, I'm much more important than Leo." Leland Vance's eyes were cold as he stared at Sterling. Under the night sky, in the vast plaza, the two men stood opposite each other. After a long moment, Leland finally spoke, his voice low. "Sterling, Anthony Reed went to a lot of trouble to get you out. Are you back in Viridian just to die?" "Ha, you say that as if you actually dared to kill me," Sterling laughed dismissively. "I'm standing right here. Do you dare to make a move?" Leland was silent. For Sterling to appear in Viridian so openly, without any attempt at concealment, meant he was confident. Confident that no matter who came for him, he could handle it. "What do you really want in Viridian?" Leland stared at him intently. "Don't tell me you also want to control this gray zone." "Control?" Sterling raised an eyebrow and shook his head with a smile. "I have no interest in controlling Viridian. I am here to destroy Viridian." The words hit Leland like a physical blow. His pupils constricted. "What did you say?" "I said, I'm here to destroy Viridian," Sterling repeated, then looked at Leland mockingly. "You don't believe me?" Leland shook his head decisively. "I don't. You're not the kind of person who would do something like that." Sterling nodded in agreement. "You're right. The man I used to be wouldn't. And because of that, I failed. And the BSO failed along with me. Since that path didn't work, I've decided to try a different one." Sterling's gaze turned icy. He spoke each word with chilling precision. "Viridian is just the beginning. I'm going to tear this world down and rebuild it. You're truly insane." Leland's eyes were filled with shock. He never imagined that the resurrected Sterling would become so radical. It was like he was a completely different person, and he knew, deep down, that a Sterling like this would be far more terrifying. "And what about the BSO?" Leland asked. "Will they agree to this?" "Of course not," Sterling said, shaking his head. "So I've cut ties with them. From now on, Sterling is Sterling, and the BSO is the BSO." Leland stared into Sterling's eyes, unable to tell if he was being truthful or not. Fundamentally, he couldn't believe Sterling would abandon the Bureau. But now, he suspected Sterling might have truly gone mad, and a madman was capable of anything. "It's getting late. I need to get back and sleep. To be honest, my body still hasn't fully recovered. I need a lot of rest these days." Sterling put one hand in his coat pocket and pulled his suitcase with the other, walking toward Leland. He stopped right in front of him. "Are you going to kill me?" he asked softly. "If not, please step aside. You're blocking my way." Leland's eyes were dark as he watched him, his hand in his pocket gripping the handle of his gun. He wanted to kill Sterling right here, right now, but he didn't dare take the risk. Because this was Sterling. Taking a deep breath, Leland slowly stepped aside, clearing a path. The plaza was wide open, but Sterling still chose to walk the path Leland had just vacated. As they passed each other, Leland suddenly spoke. "If I had made a move, would you have died?" Sterling, his back to Leland, replied coolly, "The one who would have died is you." Thwip. The words had barely left his mouth when a bullet shot out from the distance, grazing the top of Leland's scalp. A cold sweat trickled down Leland's back. He took a sharp breath. He knew it. Sterling had a backup plan. The entire plaza was being watched by his snipers. If Leland had tried anything just now, the one dead would not have been Sterling. He turned, watching Sterling's retreating back, his eyes filled with a new level of fear. Viridian was becoming more and more turbulent. Sterling walked to the curb, where a black sedan was waiting. After placing his suitcase in the trunk, he opened the back door and got in. Did Leland Vance come alone? Sterling asked the driver. Yes, sir, the driver nodded. We detected no others. After news of your arrival spread, only Leland Vance came. Sterling nodded slightly. The driver stepped on the gas, and the car pulled away. After a moment, Sterling closed his eyes and asked softly, Where is Leo Evans now? He just left the Chow Dominion estate and is on his way back to his base. Would you like to see him, sir? No need. We'll meet when the time is right. Understood. Sterling slowly opened his eyes, gazing at the passing scenery, his eyes glinting. No one knew what he was thinking. But at that moment, every major power in Viridian was shaken by a single piece of news. Sterling had come to Viridian. That night, after the chaos stirred up by Leo Evans, the major powers were shaken once again. On one hand, the news of Sterling's arrival in Viridian put everyone on high alert. His appearance was never a good sign. Any old-timer in the game knew you didn't want to go up against Sterling, because you couldn't win. If Leo Evans was an unstable agent of chaos, then Sterling was a terrifyingly stable force of nature. Once you were caught in Sterling's web, no amount of struggling would help. You'd become a marionette, manipulated step by step. Events would always unfold according to his plan, and even if you thought you'd broken free, you could never be sure if that, too, was part of his design. So, the news of his arrival was deeply unsettling. On the other hand, there was the wanted notice issued by the main cartel. The target, naturally, was Leo Evans. Effective immediately, a citywide manhunt is on for Leo Evans. Dead or alive, the bounty is $15 million. Furthermore, anyone who provides concrete information on Leo's whereabouts upon verification will be rewarded with $1 million. As soon as the news broke, plenty of people grew restless. As the saying goes, with great reward comes great risk-takers. And in a place like Viridian, there was no shortage of them. Suddenly, the entire city was asking about Leo Evans. Some even planned to feed the main cartel false information to scam them. The fate of those people was unlikely to be pleasant. The Canes weren't fools. They had ways of verifying whether a tip was genuine or not. Meanwhile, Leo, who had already returned to base, found himself tempted when he heard the news. That's $15 million. I could marry 10 Avas with that. The main cartel was really willing to pony up. Just how much did they hate him? All he did was set off a few firecrackers at their place. Was a citywide manhunt really necessary? Dude, 15 million. Leo, maybe you should just turn yourself in, Ethan C.S. said, looking at the wanted poster with a whistle. You can't just throw away money for the sake of your life, right? Get lost, Leo shot back. With the main cartel's reputation, they'd 99% Welsh on the deal. The other 1%, they'd kill you and then burn 15 million in ghost money for you. Really? Ethan was skeptical. Well, if I were Jasper Kane, that's what I'd do, Leo said matter-of-factly. It was $15 million. Of course they'd try to get out of paying. Leo certainly would, and Jasper Kane was no saint, so he definitely would too. Ava and the others looked at Leo with disdain. You think everyone is as shameless as you? To which Leo would have responded, how much is honor worth anyway? He'd lost track of his long ago. What's our next move? Kane asked. After tonight, there will be eyes on us everywhere. Any little move we make could easily be discovered. It's fine. I already thought of a plan on the way back, Leo said with a confident smile. He turned to Zara Collins. Can you get Jasper Kane's phone number? One moment. After a flurry of keystrokes, Zara had it. What are you going to do? Ava asked immediately. You just wrecked his home. Don't tell me you're going to call him up to taunt him now. Relax. I'm just saving the number. I won't call yet, Leo smiled. We'll rest up, and tomorrow night, we hit the main cartel again. Everyone. Question mark. Again. Kane couldn't help but exclaim. You're serious? I thought you were kidding. Kane, what kind of talk is that? A promise made must be a promise kept. Otherwise, how will I, Leo Evans, make a name for myself in Viridian? You've already got a citywide manhunt on you. What more of a name do you need? Leo clapped his hands. Anyway, just follow my lead tomorrow. We might not fight, but there's a high probability we will. Ava stared at Leo silently. She felt like she was being sidelined. Fine, she thought. Outside, I'll listen to Leo. At home, he'll listen to me. Where's my room? Ethan asked, taking a slow bite of an apple. We're a bit short on rooms. How about you share with Marco? Ethan turned to look at Marco. Marco scratched his head with a good-natured smile. Don't worry, mister. See ya, I don't snore. Ethan waved a hand dismissively, then turned back to Leo. Don't forget what you promised me. Leo nodded, giving him a thumbs up. With that, Ethan went into the room to rest. What did you promise him? Ava asked suspiciously. Don't tell me you sold yourself. Don't even ask. I asked the guy to bring his people to help, and he actually had conditions. What conditions? He wanted me to gift him League of Legends skins. Hearing this, Ava was speechless. That was it. She thought it was something serious. What's with that look? I'm telling you, he didn't just ask for one skin. He asked me for 100 of them. Leo said, sounding aggrieved. Nearby, Dylan Miller overheard and his jaw dropped. Dude, for real? That's a huge sacrifice. Ava rolled her eyes at Leo, didn't bother responding, and went back to her room. Willishaw shot Leo a look, muttering childish under her breath. Perhaps, at that moment, the only one in the room who understood Leo's pain was Dylan. He knew that Leo was too cheap to even buy skins for his own account. But now, he had to buy 100 for Ethan Sia. That was worse than death. They chatted a bit longer before everyone went to their rooms to rest. After all, it had been a long night. Leo went up to the rooftop alone, looked up at the inky black sky, and let out a long breath. Then he took out his phone and dialed Jasper Kane's number. Hello, Don Kane. It's only been a few hours, but I've missed you so, Leo said with a grin. On the other end, Jasper Kane instantly recognized that irritating voice. Leo, Evans, he gritted out. You actually dare to call me? Are you calling to mock me? Don't misunderstand. I'm not calling to talk to you. Leo paused, then said softly, put Leland Vance on the phone. I have something to discuss with him. I have nothing to do with Leland Vance. So stubborn. I don't have time to argue with you. Put Leland on. I know he's there. Jasper was silent for a long moment. Tell me what you want. I don't talk to dogs, Leo said flatly. Now, Evans, was I wrong? Aren't you just Leland Vance's dog? Just then, the line went quiet. Leo waited for a moment before a low voice came through. What do you want to talk about? Say it. Who is this? Leo asked. This is Leland Vance. Hearing that, a smile spread across Leo's face. The next morning, Ethan Sia emerged from his room, yawning. Silas was in the living room, cooking. Morning. Want some breakfast burritos? Silas, wearing an apron, greeted Ethan with a smile. I'm making them for everyone. Ethan's mouth twitched. He quickly waved his hands. And no thanks. I don't usually eat breakfast. He wasn't lying. What college student eats breakfast? Unless they've been up all night. I'll have his. Silas, hook me up. Leo suddenly appeared, grinning at Silas. Over the past few days, they had discovered that Silas was a genuinely good guy, without a shred of malice. Just like Marco. Simple and honest. His only hobby was cooking, because he said his daughter, before she passed, loved it when he cooked for her. You got it. Silas beamed and went back to focusing on the food. By the way, where's Lucia Shang? The two of them asked, sitting on the couch. You didn't bring her along? If they could get the Westlake City BSO on their side as muscle, what would they have to fear from the main cartel? Bring her my ass. There's still a ton of stuff to deal with back in Westlake City. Ethan shot Leo a glare. It's all your fault. You left Westlake in such a mess that the cleanup still isn't finished. Our university still isn't fully repaired. TSK, you should be thanking me. You get to skip a whole semester of classes, Leo said matter-of-factly. I thank you, but Lucia wants to kill you. Ethan leaned back on the sofa, his tone lazy. Before I came here, she asked me to pass on a message. What message? She said, don't let her see you in Westlake City again, or she'll have the BSO drag you into a cell. Not even for a vacation. Wasn't that what you were doing last time? Leo fell silent. He supposed he was just going there for a vacation and to take an exam. In the end, he did neither. Soon, the others woke up and joined them for Silas's breakfast burritos. Seeing everyone else eat, Ethan caved and had one too. He really hadn't planned on it, but Leo was eating with such gusto. What's the plan for tonight? Are we really going to attack the main cartel? Ava asked, taking small bites of her burrito. Leo nodded. Tonight, everyone follows my command. I'm going to the Chow Dominion in a bit to borrow some men. Borrow men from the Chow Dominion? Kane's mouth twitched. Will they agree? I'll ask. No harm in trying. And it's a good time to return those two Croft siblings. His words made everyone pause. Right, they'd almost forgotten about the two captives in the storage room. Leo polished off his burrito in a few bites and headed to the storage room. Creak. Inside, Corbin Croft managed to pry one eye open. When he saw it was Leo, he gritted his teeth. The Chow Dominion will never let you get away with this. Your own father doesn't even dare say that to my face anymore, Leo chuckled, walking over to untie them. What are you doing? Relax. Just sending you home. What trick are you trying to pull now? You don't want to go? Phoenix. Leo stopped, threw his hands up, and prepared to leave. It wasn't like he absolutely had to release them. Kalen Croft didn't seem to be in any rush anyway. Wait. Seeing Leo was serious, Corbin couldn't help but call out. Let me go. I rather like your defiant attitude from before. Leo smiled, crossing his arms. He walked over and ripped the tape off Raina Croft's mouth. How about this? As long as you two curse Jasper Kane a few times, call him an idiot, I'll let you go. Corbin immediately understood the ploy. His expression turned grim. You're trying to drive a wedge between us and the main cartel? You're delusional. That's right, you're delusional. Raina echoed. Leo looked at the two siblings as if they were idiots. Your family's relationship with the main cartel needs me to drive a wedge. That old man, Kalen Croft, is one step away from taking a dump on Jasper Kane's face. You think you need my help? If you don't want to go, then don't. Leo looked impatient and turned to leave again. Wait, Corbin called out once more. I'll do it. Leo turned back and looked at Raina. I'll do it too, Raina said weakly. And so, from the storage room, Jasper Kane is an idiot. Jasper Kane is an idiot. Jasper Kane is an idiot. After they had cursed him several times, all of which Leo recorded on his phone, Leo clapped his hands in satisfaction, a brilliant smile on his face. All right, now I'll send you home. He quickly untied them, then walked out, leaving Corbin and Raina to stare at each other. Brother, what do we do? Let's wait and see what trick he's trying to pull, Corbin said with a frown. He wanted to see just what kind of scheme this Leo Jr. had up his sleeve. But, all the way until they were in the car, they couldn't figure out what Leo's plan was. Marco was driving. Ever since experiencing Marco's driving skills, the veteran driver Kane had been fired by Leo. Because he was a wanted man, Leo not only changed his face, but also put on his gold-striped mask. Let's go. Marco floored it, heading straight for the Chow Dominion estate. In the back seat, Corbin and Raina sat on high alert. Even now, they couldn't believe that he would actually dare to drive them straight to their home in broad daylight. Wasn't this suicide? What is your real name? Corbin couldn't help but ask. All he knew about this man was the name Leo Jr. Me? My name is Leo Evans, Leo answered casually. At this point, the whole city knows the name. Nothing for me to hide. The whole city knows? Corbin frowned. He'd only been locked up for a few days. What on earth had happened outside? Oh, right, don't you two go leaking my info. The main cartel has a $15 million bounty on me. $15 million. Corbin and Raina's jaws dropped. They had only one thought. What the hell did you do that made Jasper Kane put a $15 million bounty on you? Don't tell me you blew up his entire estate? Seeing their disbelief, Leo tossed them the wanted poster he had printed out yesterday. Corbin picked it up, his eyes widening in shock. It really is $15 million. What did you do to the main cartel? Leo's tone immediately turned aggrieved. I didn't do much. I just went to his house last night and set off a few firecrackers, and now he wants me dead. You tell me, isn't he being unreasonable? Beside him, Marco was trying desperately not to laugh, his shoulders shaking. Firecrackers? You might as well say his gas line exploded. Author's note. Ahem, about that. I don't want my honor anymore. Back to 2 chapters. Nung. Screech. Marco executed a perfect drift, bringing the car to a smooth stop at the main gate of the Chow Dominion estate. Leo opened his door, stepped out, and took off his mask, revealing his true face. The guards at the gate flinched. You again? You think this is your house? You're here every day. But in the next second, their eyes widened, because they saw Corbin and Raina get out of the back seat. The siblings looked dazed, with a hint of disbelief. Leo Evans had actually brought them back. Wah! Raina burst into tears and sprinted toward the house. As she ran, she screamed, Dad, help me. Leo Evans kidnapped me. Come out and save me. Raina's voice was incredibly loud, and soon, everyone in the Chow estate heard her cries for help. The guards frowned, their gazes fixed warily on Leo. This guy was the one who kidnapped the young master and young miss. Don't move, one of the guards shouted, pulling his gun and aiming it at Leo. One wrong move, and I'll shoot. Inside the car, Marco calmly ate a corn dog, not the least bit worried. It was worth noting that he had been eating it while executing the drift, a feat that made Leo deeply envious. Leo looked at the black muzzle pointed at him and yawned. What's all this about? Your young master and young miss were kidnapped by Jasper Kane. I risked my life last night to save them, and This is how you treat their rescuer. By now, a crowd of Chow family members had emerged, forming a protective circle around Corbin and Raina, their eyes locked on Leo. You're lying. It was clearly you who kidnapped us. Raina, hearing this, immediately went ballistic. Proof? Leo asked. PR. Raina was at a loss for words. Leo shook his head with a small smile. You don't have any evidence, but I do. With that, he took out his phone and hit play. In the sudden silence, Corbin and Raina's voices echoed. Jasper Kane. The Chow family will not let you get away with this. Jasper Kane. What trick are you trying to pull now? Jasper Kane. You're delusional. Jasper Kane is an idiot. Hearing the recording, the Chow family members were stunned. It really was the Meng cartel. That's the young master and young Mrs. voices, no doubt about it. Yeah, especially that last part cursing Jasper Kane. So clear and fluent. This recording definitely wasn't edited. That damn Jasper Kane. Damn him. Behind the crowd, Corbin and Raina were dumbfounded. This actually worked? That recording is fake. Raina shrieked. Do you dare to swear that you didn't say any of those things? Leo's eyes narrowed as he shouted. Do you dare to swear that not a single word in that recording was spoken by you? Do you dare to swear that you didn't call Jasper Kane an idiot? Raina's face flushed red with anger, her body trembling. She pointed a finger at Leo, but couldn't get a word out, because she really didn't dare to swear it. But that wasn't how it happened. Whatever. I can't be bothered with you. Get Kalen Croft out here. I need to talk to him, Leo said, crossing his arms and leaning against the car door. Just as he finished speaking, a voice came from within the estate. Everyone stand down. The crowd turned to see the speaker. Dad. Kalen Croft stood at the entrance, looking utterly exhausted. It was so early in the morning, and there was already so much noise. He glanced at Leo outside the gate and gritted his teeth. You again? You really do think this is your home? Dad, you have to get revenge for me. Raina ran to Kalen, crying, and pointed an accusing finger at Leo. It really was him who kidnapped me. Kalen looked at Leo, pondered for a moment, and sighed softly. He reached out and stroked Raina's head. Silly girl, you've suffered. You're so confused you've lost your mind. The one who kidnapped you is clearly Jasper Kane. His words made Raina's eyes go wide with disbelief. Beside her, Corbin frowned, seeming to have caught on to something. He quickly went over and pulled Raina back. Dad is right. Raina probably hasn't had any rest. Then, Corbin looked around at the crowd and said softly, the one who kidnapped us was indeed Jasper Kane. Kalen's eyes showed a hint of approval. That's my son. He had immediately understood his father's intentions. If they revealed that Leo was the kidnapper now, they would gain nothing and might even provoke Leo into causing more trouble. It was better to just go with the flow and say Jasper Kane was the culprit. That way, if the Chow Dominion were to attack the Meng cartel in the future, they would have a perfect excuse. You, Jasper Kane, kidnapped my son and daughter, so of course I'm going to attack you. What? You didn't do it? Leo says you did. My son and daughter say you did. So you did it. Even if you didn't, you did. I knew it. Who else but the Meng cartel would pull something like this? I say we should have just gone to war with them from the start. Did you all forget? It was Leo who risked his life to save the young master and young miss from the Meng cartel yesterday. Oh, right. I forgot. We really should thank him properly. In an instant, the attitude of the Chow family members toward Leo did a complete 180. They were practically falling over themselves with warmth. No, it was nothing. I was just doing what I had to do, Leo said, smiling and waving modestly from within the crowd. Seeing this, the people couldn't help but marvel at what a good kid he was. Not only did he risk his life to save their young master and miss, but now he was being hunted by Jasper Kane for it. Jasper Kane was truly a monster. If Jasper Kane were carrying a metaphorical pot on his back, he'd find that it was getting heavier and heavier. Off to the side, Raina looked like she had just eaten something foul, but Corbin had his hand over her mouth, preventing her from speaking. Tired of the sight, Corbin simply led her away from the scene and back to their rooms. All right, everyone dismiss. I have something to discuss with Leo, Kalen finally said. The crowd slowly dispersed, but not before giving Leo a few more warm farewells. After everyone had left, Kalen looked at Leo, snorted, and said flatly, "Follow me to the reception room." Leo rubbed his nose, told Marco to wait in the car, and followed Kalen. Inside the reception room, Kalen Croft could no longer hold back. "What are you doing here again?" he demanded, glaring at Leo. "You've been here 3 times in 2 days. Do you really think this is your home?" Leo covered his ears, frowning. "Why are you yelling so loud? I'm here on official business this time." "You don't have any business that isn't bad business." Nothing good ever happens when you show up. Kalen scoffed. Stop playing around. Lend me some men. No, I'm not lending you anyone, no matter what you say. Are you sure? Don't regret it, Leo said with a serious expression. If you don't, and I take down the main cartel tonight, you won't even get the scraps. Like you could take them down. Kalen's words trailed off mid-sentence. He remembered thinking the same thing before, when Leo said he was going to destroy the Black Dragon crew. He had scoffed then, too. And what happened? Not only was the Black Dragon crew gone, but the main cartel's estate got half demolished. The thought made Kalen's brow furrow deeply. He looked at Leo suspiciously. What kind of scheme is this kid cooking up now? You're confident you can take down the main cartel? Hard to say. Depends on the situation. You have another trick up your sleeve? Depends on the situation. Hard to say. You have more help coming? Hard to say. Depends on. If you say depends on the situation one more time, I'm throwing you out. Kalen's mustache bristled with anger. After all that questioning, that was all he had to say? Hearing the threat, Leo obediently shut his mouth. Other than that, he really didn't have anything else to say, because it really did depend on the situation. Kalen frowned deeply, pacing back and forth, clearly weighing his options. After a long moment, he suddenly pointed at Leo. You know, Anthony Reed and I have a history. Leo blinked his big eyes, but didn't speak. So what? Even his dad's connections wouldn't work here. Ava even used to call me Uncle Kalen when she was little. Then I'll call you Uncle, too. Uncle, lend me some men, Leo said, immediately latching on. It cost him nothing to say it. My point is, I can give you the men, but you have to promise they won't be used as cannon fodder. Uncle, what are you talking about? We're all family here. How could I use them as cannon fodder? You have to treat them well. Of course, I treat everyone well. Leo's face was wreathed in smiles as he readily agreed. But then his smile vanished, and his tone grew low. But, Uncle Kalen, there's one thing I have to make clear up front. The men you give me must follow my orders completely, without any hesitation. Whoever I say to attack, they attack. Whoever I say to work with, they work with. If they can't do that, then I don't want them. Kalen's pupils narrowed. What are you really planning? Leo's words immediately tipped him off. Tonight wasn't going to be as simple as just attacking the main cartel. Relax, Don Kalen. I have no ill intentions toward the Chow Dominion. As of now, we are still allies. But after tonight, that might not be the case. Leo sat down on the sofa, his gaze fixed on Kalen. Don Kalen, what's your choice? Kalen sat down opposite him in silence and lit a cigarette for himself. Leo didn't press, just waited quietly for his answer. After a long time, Kalen finally spoke. Sterling is in Viridian. Did you know? As he spoke, he watched Leo's face intently, searching for any flicker of a reaction. However, Leo showed no surprise at all. He simply nodded. I know. Then what are you going to do? Kalen stared into Leo's eyes. If you end up on the opposite side from him, what will you do? Leo looked puzzled. If we're on opposite sides, then we fight. What else is there to do? Even if your opponent is Sterling? I don't care if he's Sterling, Sterling Silver, or Sterling Archer. If he's my enemy, I fight. Kalen raised an eyebrow and gave a wry, bitter smile. In his opinion, Leo was only saying this because he had never faced Sterling before. The ignorance of youth. Kalen shook his head with a sigh, then said, Fine, I'll give you the men. How you command them is up to you. But I have one condition. Kalen slowly held up one finger. Leo raised his eyebrows. What condition? You must promise not to make a move against the Chow Dominion. That's it. Leo stood up, clapped his hands, and grinned. I thought it was something serious. Uncle, we're family. How could I possibly attack my own family? Kalen gave him a cold look. Now we're family again? Now you're calling me uncle again? Weren't you just calling me Don Kalen a minute ago? Kalen shook his hand off with a look of disgust. If there's nothing else, then get out. And stop running over here every single day. You got it. Leo agreed, then immediately turned and vanished from Kalen's sight. Kalen watched his retreating back and cursed under his breath. Insolent brat. No respect for his elders. No manners at all. Then he called out Seven. Seven emerged from the side. Gather the men. Have them prepare for battle and wait for Leo's signal tonight. Understood. But how many men are you planning to give him? A sharp glint appeared in Kalen's eyes. Have everyone in the Chow Dominion prepare for battle. I'm betting that this kid, Leo, can keep his freakish luck going. I'm going to bet on him, and we're going to make a big move. Seven sighed but nodded. Calencroft, he thought, was a gambler at heart. He either folded or he went all in. Meanwhile, Leo had just left the Chow estate when he frowned. Where was Marco? The black sedan was parked there, empty. Marco was nowhere to be seen. Looking closer, he saw a piece of paper tucked under the windshield wiper. Leo frowned, walked over, and picked it up, reading the words written on it. Westgate Park. Don't be late. It was signed, The Ghost. Clearly, they had taken Marco to ensure that Leo would show up. The thought made Leo's brow furrow even more deeply. Westgate Park. Which damn way is west? They didn't even give me a map. How am I supposed to get there? Leo was a pure science and math guy. In high school, his geography grades had been, to put it mildly, abysmal. If you told him left or right, he could manage. But if you said north, south, east, or west, he was genuinely lost. The only sentence he ever managed to write consistently on his geography tests was, "The advantage of this location is its abundant supply of cheap labor."